Hey, thank you so much for checking out today's video. This is the final of the compilations we're putting up during our break. This is the SCP Supercut compilation, which includes a unique blended intro by the incredible We Try Horror. It features voice acting talents from Spirit Voices, Vidith, and We Try Horror, in addition to myself. I'm super proud of this work, and I really hope you enjoy it. Now, something else to note is we just did our first live stream in a while, and you may have missed out on some key moments like this. And this.
Chaos Emeralds, they belong to the greatest country. That's us. Don't know what Robotnik's doing. Sneaky man. So you're telling me that you wasn't drunk or fucked up in any way when you had sex with me and that monkey?
And this.
You're a good friend.
Fuck you, Shadow.
It was such a success that we have decided we are going to stream weekly. We are going to be doing next Wednesday, same time, 7 p.m. Eastern. You can join us. It's going to be about 3 hours of hilarity. We're reading through My Immortal and Tales Gets Trolled. Lucy and Vidith have never read these before. It's going to be an absolute delight. Also, a lot of you have been asking about the Nightmare Detectives, so for those of you who don't know, you can catch the entire thing on podcasting right now, but we're going to be putting the remainder of the episodes on YouTube on days that we're not uploading stories. So, for our schedule, which is Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, we're then going to have every other day be an entry visually with the Nightmare Detectives content so that everybody is getting all of that on every platform until the lead up to our mini in-between season, The Gunkersons, which is already on Patreon and is going to start coming out on YouTube, and then Campaign 2. It's all Sturgeon. It's a mixture of trauma bonding and shitposting and anime fights. It's great. I'm super proud of it, and I hope you guys enjoy it. And that's kind of it from me. Thank you so much. Happy 17K. We're on the road to 20, and when we get to 20,000, we're adapting The Last Sin Eater. I'll see you next time. Have a great weekend. Oh my god. One too many purple crayons. Where the fuck? Am I in the closet? What the fuck am I? Did Mendoza lock me in here again?
So, Dr. Pierce, I assume you enjoyed your time off? You're looking brighter than usual today.
Well, when a man is allowed to see his family after a 3-month period, brighter begins to sell short.
I suppose you're right on that.
What?
Well, shall we?
I'm getting to it. I just never remember which pocket I left this card in. Ah, bottom left. I should really try to remember these kind of things.
Pierce? The door?
My apologies.
No. No.
Call security.
Yes, it's Dr. Pierce again. Yes, the equipment has been stolen again.
Shit.
No, I don't know where it went. Don't you think I'd have told you its location if I knew?
You'd think they'd install a camera in every room so that this wouldn't happen.
I guess not. Must be out of the budget.
Well, the damn things aren't gonna find themselves.
Victor, what the fuck have you done now? What did you put in my room? Shit! What the fuck? What the... What are the lights?
You have one new message.
Wait, what is this voicemail?
Chief Mendoza III.
Victor.
Today at 2:52 a.m.
You
Hey,
fucking...
what's up? So I got this cool
Secure,
little computer
contain.
thing from some
Oh,
Lane
God
Foundation, and well, they caught me
Great.
stealing it. They don't know where.
Great.
But I told them that I had
No,
a
this
good
is
guy
great.
in mind who could read the stories declassified.
You're lucky I
get it
love
out
this.
There, so you're staying here now until it's all done. But you don't
Cool.
mind. Got him.
Well, I guess we have a new series for Dusklight Radio, don't we? Hold on tight, Purple Crayon Wife. We're going in. Ah, shit. Hello, everyone. Janitor Supremo TJ Lee here. And as you have seen, I have been put into the janitor's closet and have been given a new set of tasks to keep me busy. This was dictated to me by the Council of Janitors, headed up by one Victor Mendoza. I have been told that for the creation of a certain purple crayon wife that caused a redacted incident I am not allowed to speak of, I will now be in this closet, and I will be reporting on all anomalies pertaining to the SCP Foundation. Because apparently, we now have a subsidiary here in Sturgeon, specifically here at Dusklight Radio, to be more specific, here in this closet. Without further ado, let us begin. The first up on my seemingly never-ending pile of SCPs to declassify and share with you is SCP-5005, Lamplight. Special Containment Procedures. Diplomatic relations with SCP-5005 have been established under the terms of the Sarai Treaty. A permanent researcher is to be stationed on SCP-5005 at all times, whose presence can only be allowed or rescinded by the agreement of the project lead and 2 Foundation psychologists. Other Foundation personnel are permitted conditional research access to SCP-5005 with the approval of their supervisor. Access is gained via a Scranton Mirabire arc from Site Q-46, located in the Adzane universe on the far side of the Western Cluster. Contact your extra-universal contact for more information. Personnel are reminded that a prolonged stay in SCP-5005 may be severely emotionally taxing and are encouraged to consider their own mental health before entering. Description: SCP-5005 is a human settlement located 3,449 Waylons to the multiversal east of the Central Reality Compass and 87 Waylons beyond where matter is ordinarily capable of permanently existing. Consequently, it is the most remote settlement created by a sentient creature, and the most remote matter in existence. SCP-5005 is constructed on an expanse of an Earth-like substance, which acts as a fertile soil. The extent of this expanse is unknown, as it is impossible to engage in long-term exploration beyond the limits of SCP-5005-1's light range. SCP-5005-1 is a large, biomechanical lantern suspended over SCP-5005. 5005-1's light possesses a degree of reality stabilization far in excess of any other known examples, allowing for the permanent existence of matter within its light range. However, 5005-1's capacity as a light source is limited and temperamental. Due to its size and distance from 5005, its lux illumination is relatively low in the settlement. It is frequently described as being similar to the light of a full moon on Earth. SCP-5005-1 is suspended above 5005 by a large, protruding tendril, which emerges from the expanse and forms an arc above SCP-5005. The tendril is believed to be constructed from an artificially hardened and strengthened form of the expanse substance. The composition of the expanse substance is unknown. Various scholars have proposed a link to Skriskan holochrome, which possesses a similarly unusual molecular structure. However, the archaeological record of Skriska is limited, and no currently known Skriskan technologies could create something on the scale of the expanse substance. The residents of SCP-5005 refer to the substance as Mahilome, a word which has no connection to any of the cultures on SCP-5005 and is of unknown provenance. Further investigation is required. The following is an assessment of other anecdotal evidence and theories concerning SCP-5005's surroundings by Dr. Hamish Franklin, Project Lead on SCP-5005. Playing now.
Although the historical documentation surrounding SCP-5005's founding and history is relatively extensive, any scientific understanding of the town's surroundings or its light source remains beyond our capabilities. It is clear from the mechanical elements within SCP-5005-1 that it is a synthetic creation of an unknown civilization, but there is nothing we can find that is remotely similar to it. There are some similarities to Skriskan technologies within the substance of the expanse, but that kind of molecular structure has its forebears in any number of universes in that cluster and beyond. Adzane, Harkret, Karach. What all of them lack is anything even slightly as advanced as SCP-5005-1, which can create almost Earth-like conditions in the midst of unreality. Any number of theories have come forward. A research experiment of the Old Empire, a Neo-Austrian birthing ground, an Adzanian horse-culling centre. One biologist even thought it could be the remains of a Harkret pioneer's anglerfish. These ideas are innovative, but remain, at best, only mere speculation. Not even the populace can provide any clues. Whatever ancient people made it must be long dead now. We cannot send Foundation personnel beyond the city limits, of course. Far too dangerous. And most anecdotes from the town's explorers simply speak of more and more dark, and that gradual unsettling feeling that they've been away from the light for too long. Would-be pioneers have either been driven back swiftly, or have disappeared. Only one anecdote has been preserved that holds any interest for us. Roughly a century ago, a particularly daring, or drunken, poet decided to pick a direction and head that way as long as possible. He was just about suicidal enough to stick with it longer than most others, but not so determined that he didn't eventually turn back. Out there, many miles away, he happened to glance at his hand and saw it begin to unravel. In a panic, he stared across the landscape and saw a brief glint on the horizon. Thinking it was home, he headed fast towards it. But, after crossing a prominent ridge, he found that he'd been going in the wrong direction entirely. Before him lay a glassy orb of immense proportions, the colour of milk, embedded into the earth, and a faint light shone beneath its surface. By some miracle, he managed to get home. There wasn't much of him left, and it didn't take long before he expired. But his half-mad, lunatic story, he screamed out, has stuck in the town's lore. For most of the townsfolk, it remains a cautionary tale for those who might consider stepping beyond the light's edge.
The following are a series of introductory essays on aspects of SCP-5005 by academics and Foundation personnel in the Soul and Orchard universes who have studied the anomaly. These have been supplemented by Foundation logs that provide examples of the phenomena discussed. 1. History by Dr. Johannes Kobold, Level 3 Foundation Historian. SCP-5005 was founded by Jean-Antoine Delacroix, a noted poet from the Orchard universe and former dragoman in the Kievan Republic. Delacroix discovered 5005's location following the dissolution of his relationship with the Strathclyde painter Emily Wolfe, leaving him in a state of extreme depression. He attempted suicide via arc blinking, launching himself in a random direction in the hope of expiring in the non-matter surrounding the multiverse. Instead, Delacroix arrived close to SCP-5005-1. Deeply curious about the location, he blinked himself home to embark on a series of explorations of the site. He founded SCP-5005 in 2107 and gave it the name Lamplight, which remains its common name to this day. Delacroix's stated intention in founding the settlement was to create the place that, quote, could provide a home to the damned, the dispossessed, the refugee, and the lost. However, the initial inhabitants were almost entirely artists, writers, and intellectuals from the Orchard universe, quickly ending Delacroix's utopian hopes for the town. He again fell into depression and disappeared in 2110. Subsequent immigration to SCP-5005 has followed a similar pattern, with the majority of the town's population belonging to academic or artistic professions. Most other inhabitants are the survivors or descendants of two major influxes of refugees who took up residence in SCP-5005. A group of survivors of the Neon London in 2396, and the remnants of the Tribes of the Many Steps in 2419. The nature of time in SCP-5005's non-matter surroundings means that human aging varies greatly from person to person. Consequently, while some visitors have undergone the span of a full human life in a single 24-hour cycle, others have shown no visible signs of aging across many centuries. This allows for an impressive range of sources for SCP-5005's history. An example of this can be found in the following interview with Sergei Osmanoglu, the owner of the Dragoman Tavern, who emigrated to SCP-5005 in 2109. Interviewer: Junior Researcher Sofia Ramirez. Location: Dragoman Tavern. Date: 29th of November, 2524. Begin log. Ramirez is sitting in the main room of the tavern, at a table by a window. She has just switched on a recording device and placed it in front of her. A tall, burly man with a thick beard, Osmanoglu, is sitting opposite her. Snow can be seen passing by the window. There is a lit fireplace behind Osmanoglu.
Thank you for agreeing to this interview, Sergei.
It's not a problem. I've got time, and you paid the rent promptly.
Okay. When did you first arrive in Lamplight?
2109, I think. It was a long time ago.
What was the town like then?
Small. Cold. Fewer buildings, fewer lamps, less snow.
Yes, I wanted to ask about that. How is there snow?
But it was better back then. Delacroix was here. People said he'd founded the place, but I couldn't understand how they could think that.
What do you mean?
I didn't have the energy. No spark. He'd spend all his time staring out there, into the dark.
Osmanoglu gestures towards the window. The darkness of the non-matter is visible outside.
This place wasn't meant for us.
You can't know that for sure. The soul here is so perfectly suited to supporting human life.
Now, you don't make a place for people with that thing suspended over it. You'd build a sun or stars, not a pallid half moon. There are no places for humans this far out.
Other civilizations got close. Sarkat, Harikurt.
They weren't humans. Wrong cluster. And if they did make this place, and I doubt it, then they are long gone now. Nothing but their dust and their lamp left over.
So, what did Delacroix do?
Osmanoglu is silent for some time.
He had a girl, and that went sour. So he came here to start something new. Something great. But the only ones entranced by his mad designs were the same old crowd of poets, all talking about the great utopia they'd built here. Another society of true freedom to escape the horrors of the dozen others they'd made. But they didn't want to do the hard graft or come down from their bohemian bubbles. So it was all talk. Shooting shit in taverns like this one. I'm the only one left now.
Osmanoglu takes a sip of beer.
Delacroix, though, he was smart. He could see this. First time I saw him, he'd been here 2 years, and the absinthe had reached his eyes. He saw all that he'd done was make more meaningless ego. But I think part of him loved the misery he felt. He wrote his best poems here. Everyone says so. About the dark as a mirror, and about other stuff. You've read him?
Not yet, no. Hard to get a copy in Seoul.
You're the next universe over. Should be easy. On Orchard, you can find him anywhere. Not so much here. People don't like to remember him here.
Why not?
Because he talked truths the poets don't want to hear. Or because we all know what happened to him. Oh, there are those who say he went back to Orchard. But any true lamplighter knows that he stepped into the night. The night does not give such easy answers, he used to say. I would just pat him on the shoulder and tell him it was okay, and He was not a well man, Sophia. He wanted to destroy himself. And we don't like to talk about that.
Suicide, right?
No. More than that. I don't think he wanted to die. To end. He wanted to annihilate the idea of himself. He'd come here and order absinthe over and over and over again, staring at the snow and trying to make out shapes. Then one day, he was gone.
I see.
You should go home, Sophia. Go back to your soul, to your foundation. This is not a place for well people.
Then why are you here?
Someone has to care for the sick. I saw you watching Kastamonu from your window.
I don't know what.
Tall man, wore a greatcoat. You saw him, didn't you? Walking down the cobbled streets. He was a playwright from Devastan. Smoked those pipes, wrote with trembling hands under the gas lamps. I put the fire on and keep it warm, but he hasn't been back for days. Just walked into the smog, 1 foot beating a tardy march, withdrawing with the other as a faintly whistling silhouette. You saw him and said nothing. I think you are like him, in a way.
That will be all for now.
End log. 2. Structure and Society by Dr. Harry Grant, lecturer in Eastern Multiverse Studies at King's College London. SCP-5005 is, properly, a series of 5 small districts loosely gathered around a central plaza, the Wolf Square. 3 of these districts were created by the various artistic groups present in SCP-5005 across the centuries, and consequently reflecting their sensibilities. The other 2 were founded by refugee groups. The districts are as follows. The Kievan, or Victorian district, was the original core of the city, founded by Jean-Antoine Delacroix in 2109. The architectural style is reminiscent of the late Neperian style, roughly analogous to a mixture of Victorian and Imperial Russian architecture in the Soul universe, but with some oddities, such as a strict adherence to cobbled streets and the regular placement of gas lamps. The ardent romanticism of the city's founders has led to the structure of this district being deliberately disorganized. It has frequently been admired for its many communal meeting places and frequent public concerts. The Ethereum district was created during the cyberpunk revival of the 2350s, a response to the horrors of the Burnt Apple War that caused severe destruction to the Orchard Universe's Earth. The cyberpunk revival was marked by a deep cynicism and disillusionment with contemporary politics, reflected in an architectural style deliberately modeled on post-industrial decay and internet-based subcultures. The district is thus highly architecturally varied and was renowned for its anarchist politics, which were credited with an urban and social regeneration across the settlement. The Giotto district was created by a group of Soul Universe artists who, in response to the Namibian crisis of the 2390s, wanted a radical return to pre-modernity as a response to the evils of the present. The group, vehemently opposed to all realism in art, created the district as a way to return to a world of starker light, constructing buildings exclusively in Gothic or Romanesque church architecture with an emphasis on stained glass as light-refracting properties. The early days of this district were marked by an ascetic, medieval morality almost entirely absent today, as the modern neighborhood is chiefly known for its biannual passion plays and wide range of communal and charitable activities. The neoclassical district was founded by refugees fleeing the Neon London in the early 25th century. Characterized by 18th century British architecture, but augmented by a large number of green spaces, flowing curves, and a stated desire to create utopia, this district was rigidly and rigorously planned as an ideal community of elites. Although this project has long been abandoned, the neighborhood has become a focal point for a great number of literary circles, with young artists frequently attending its salons and literary festivals, and many patrons settling in the district. The Nomad district was created by the surviving tribes of the Many Steppes. Most of the structures here are yurts and other nomadic tents utilized by the Salom Universe's Inner Asia analog, but at the center of the district is a Menician temple of particular architectural significance even beyond SCP-5005. This district is frequently engaged in housing refugees from across the multiverse, a cause that many of SCP-5005's residents involve themselves in. Despite many historical differences, conflicts and disagreements between these districts are now uncommon, with the populace as a whole freely mingling. Although each district has its own celebrations, there is one major festival celebrated in SCP-5005 by the populace as a whole, the Parade of Candles, or Kritsmata, held once a year on a day roughly analogous to midwinter in the northern hemisphere of Orchard Universe's Earth. A description of this festival by junior researcher Ramirez can be found below.
The festive proceedings began at what would be 6 a.m. in the Orchard Universe's Kiv, the system of timekeeping agreed upon since SCP-5005's foundation. Residents from all over the districts gathered in the central square to engage in series of acrobatic performances, poetry reading, artistic displays, and music recitals. The artistic segments of the community essentially use this event to promote and discuss their various works, while the rest of the populace treats them as a form of entertainment. It is notable that while many of these works use the surrounding dark as their subject matter, it is rare to hear discussion of the darkness, both during the festival and outside of it. This activity continues for several hours while the owners of the local taverns begin the task traditionally incumbent on them, constructing a large pyre in the center of the square. The resulting structure is enormous, but due to the prevailing of fog and snow in SCP-5005, it is frequently unusable as a pyre. In these cases, the populace simply links arms and dances around the structure before returning to their various homes and cooking an evening feast. If the pyre does catch light, however, then tables will be set up surrounding the fire and a shared feast will take place in the square. The food here is a mixture of plants grown in the expanse substance, as well as imported food, which makes up the vast majority of the food consumed in SCP-5005. A great many of Kelvin and Saklai delicacies can be found in the Orchard universe, as well as malted saloons from the Salom universe. A delicacy brought by tribal refugees that has proved surprisingly popular in the town. After the meal, candles are brought out for the populace to light from the pyre. It will usually be burning much lower at this stage, and is ordinarily safe to approach. Having lit their candles, the populace begins to wander individually and haphazardly towards the edges of SCP-5005-1's light range. They will spread themselves out at a safe distance behind the edge of the circle and, holding their candle aloft, begin to sing several hymns in succession. The year's hymns are voted on during a town meeting. They are primarily from the Orchard universe, but some Soul and Solemn songs are sung. There is also usually a reconstruction Shushiskin song added as part of a continuing superstition that the Shushiskins created SCP-5005-1. The singing is not impressive, as one would expect from hundreds of people spread out across a very large distance and with little training. Other observers had called the effect charming. It seems to me to be reflective of the almost monomaniac obsession that the denizens have with the light and fire motif, present in so many artistic works and important to their conversations and culture. It is a bizarre and disturbing fact that so many travel to understand or to be inspired by SCP-5005's non-material location, but end up ardently embracing the familiar trappings of home.
3. Culture by Pierre Rachmaninov, reader in literary history at the University of Old Kiev. SCP-5005's place in the canon of multiversal literature, art, and music is regarded as highly significant. Its importance to the Orchard Universe's cyberpunk revival is well documented, as is that movement's impact on the culture of multiple universal clusters. Perhaps less well known is the sheer scale of artistic figures who have lived in or been inspired by SCP-5005. The Dragoman, Firefall, and Old Sriska taverns have all seen the formation of a number of significant literary circles. The renowned 22nd century poet Fernand Borges was deeply affected by SCP-5005, writing his famous poem The Hearth of Baudelaire, a Ulysses-like attempt to portray the common life of the city's inhabitants as a large-scale epic. Martha Vintage's historical novels, all concerned with Sriskan and Harkretian families settling on the edges of space, are thought to have been inspired by her stay at the Firefall. But the most famous literary resident is still Delacroix, whose influence over the writing of the whole of the Western Universal sectors is incalculable. The unique moonlight effect of SCP-5005-1 and the sense of community in the settlement have been portrayed numerous times in the visual arts. The Franco-Salamine painters Claude Karakorum, Mohamed Watteau, and Francisco de Shiraz were all drawn to SCP-5005, with Karakorum's piece, Delacroix's Bedchamber, being among the most famous artworks of the Western sector. The musical influence is less easy to trace, but a great many noted composers have made visits. Marius Königsberg's Chrismata Symphony and the Cheer and Frost Heptet were both composed during his stay in SCP-5005. It is notable that the pieces of temporary visitors or recent immigrants to SCP-5005 are almost invariably focused on the non-matter surrounding the settlement, while those of long-term residents are often fixated on community, light, and sensual pleasures. Various explanations have been given for this disparity in subject matter. Many short-term residents state that they came to SCP-5005 expressly to see the non-matter and that anything else is simply a distraction, deterring from a proper exploration of the location's mystery. Longer-term inhabitants often talk about the pointlessness of examining the non-matter, or believe SCP-5005's purpose is to act as a beacon against non-existence. The unexplained weather conditions in the settlement are never mentioned, with a single exception discussed in Dr. Franklin's essay below. The following is an interview between researcher Ramirez and the famed Soul Universe poet Juan Lumiere, who settled permanently in the town in 2276. It is included here to give a sense of the perspective of many longer-term inhabitants of SCP-5005. Interviewer, Junior Researcher Sofia Ramirez. Location, outside the Firefall Tavern. Date, 12th of December, 2524. Begin log. Junior Researcher Ramirez is walking towards the back entrance of the Firefall Tavern, which opens onto a wide cobbled street on a slight incline. Fog can be seen all around, obscuring the rest of the street. The sounds of revelry coming from inside the Firefall can be heard. A man in his 30s, wearing a long, thick greatcoat, is smoking a cigarillo outside the entrance. Ramirez approaches him.
Hello, Juan Lemire?
The very same. You're that Foundation girl, aren't you? Staying at the Dragoman.
Junior Researcher, Sofia Ramirez.
A lovely name. I can only presume, given that recording device on your shoulder, that you've come to interview me.
If you could step inside.
I prefer to stand out here. They are bright and merry in there. I'll wait until the fire is lower and the company more selective. Let the young have their fun.
How old are you?
278. Don't look it, do I? The perks of this city. I've aged 6 years in the time I've been here, by my count. But nobody ever comes here for eternal life.
I've been wondering about that.
It's because it doesn't feel as it's meant to. You don't feel like you're living longer, just that those years have been spread out longer, like skin stretched over a drum. You never develop properly.
Your writing has.
I didn't think anyone in Seoul had ever heard of me.
Well, if I'm honest, it was your work that first drew me here. You're unusual. Your later stuff talks about fire and light, but with much more craft than most of the other long-termers.
You like the newer ones, then?
I do quite like them.
But you like the earlier ones more. Everyone likes the early ones more. They don't understand why someone would come to Lamplight just to write about the things in their own lives. To them, in their Kievan salons, this place is just the wild frontier, the mystery beyond mysteries, the edge of all creation. They want something wild, not something homespun.
Isn't that natural?
Do you write at all? Compose?
I play a little violin. I write some stuff in my spare time.
But that's not why you came here. You came here to solve its mysteries.
It has so many.
You're barking up the wrong tree, girl. You won't solve anything. You should go inside.
I'm fine. I'm not here to party.
Then that's your mistake. I've seen so many like you come through here. You've read Delacroix?
I recently acquired a copy. I haven't read much yet, though.
It's his last poem that, if not understood, then at least got some glimpse of this place. Rough, almost like a regression to juvenilia. But the only thing he wrote that really threw a light on the bright young things that come here, full of opium and dreams. You think people come here to see the dark? They come here because they think they should. They think inspiration is full of the external, the depths of the human soul, the ravaged passions of age. It's not. Inspiration is the dust on a wainscot and the smell of barley, the warmth of heaths,
There is an infinite dark outside, a light that should not exist above. Why should I come here to play the fool? This town should not exist.
It was always going to exist. This place was inevitable.
What does that mean?
Why did you not help Kastamonu?
There is a pause of several seconds.
You drink, same as me and the rest. But you drink ice-cold gin in the silence of your room. You spend hour after hour puzzling, typing, working through things. I see you in your window, staring out into the night. And you watched as Kastamonu just marched himself off into the night because you felt the same things he felt.
Where are you going?
Because I've seen you before, 1,000 times. The artist falling on his paintbrush as a sword. The writer who sees God in a grain of darkness. Sometimes I stop them, but mostly they ignore me. The wisdom of youth and all that. One fine day, they'll walk into the night, into the echo chamber of compounded mystery, never understanding that we built this place to be a beacon against it, the inevitable human sigh of defiance in the night.
Lumiere buttons up his jacket and begins to walk away.
Where are you going? I'm not done with you yet.
Go to the fires, junior researcher Sofia Ramirez. Get a shorter name, because you'll learn one way or another that there is nothing out there.
Lumiere walks down the street and into the fog, whistling the Blue Danube Waltz. Ramirez stares after him for several seconds before turning her camera off. End log. 4. Psychological Impact by Dr. Hans Freiberg, Level 3 Foundation Psychologist. The emotional and psychological effect SCP-5005 has on a large proportion of its residents is particularly noteworthy. A minimum of 14 disappearances have been recorded in the town in any given year. Extensive investigations by local law enforcement and Foundation researchers have determined these to be almost entirely suicides. The reasons for this disappearance rate in a town of SCP-5005 size, with its generally high standards of living, are not wholly clear. The psychological effects of a lack of sunlight or a relatively unvaried diet have been considered, as has the sheer danger of an unpredictable light source. But the most interesting evidence is that the overwhelming majority of the disappearances come from artists, writers, and particularly academics who have been residents in the town for less than a year. These residents often display similar patterns of behavior in the weeks prior to their disappearance: an obsession with the non-matter surrounding the town, an increasing dependence on narcotics, and a greatly increased output but diminished quality of work. Many townspeople attempt to intervene, but to little avail. Affected individuals are likely to become increasingly isolated and aggressive towards others. 4 Foundation personnel are known to have disappeared in SCP-5005 since the Sarai Treaty was signed, all apparently committing suicide via non-matter. Although a cause of concern for Foundation personnel, the unavoidably limited nature of mental health provision within the Foundation has meant that this situation is difficult to overcome. For an example of some of the concerns typically raised with the Foundation's psychiatric unit, the following is an extract from Director Franklin's report of a check-in with Junior Researcher Ramirez in December 2524.
After the meal, Dr. Ramirez took me to her rooms to show me some of her initial findings. By this point, I had noticed several things that concerned me. Having known Dr. Ramirez for several years, her voice seemed markedly more strained than usual. She also seemed nervous and was sweating profusely. Several times I thought I smelled alcohol on her breath. Her rooms turned out to be a single cheap bedchamber on the tavern's top floor. There was little heating and no light, the window opening out of the Giotto district. I asked her why she had chosen this room when we had allotted her a generous allowance. She replied that the rooms on the lower floors were too noisy, and that she needed quiet to work. I thought this plausible at the time. SCP-5005's taverns are not known for being serene places of study. But on further reflection, I remembered that 2 previous researchers, Kobold and McBride, had similarly changed their accommodation. Both had to be pulled out of 5005, and both had developed the notion that a higher room would take them closer to the source of the town's non-matter. A curious piece of unscientific superstition. I noticed also that, although the bedchamber appeared to be in an orderly condition, there was a sheen of dust across many of the surfaces, and a couple of telltale signs were visible that indicated a lot of tidying in a very short amount of time. The bed did not look like it had been slept in. Several fiction books, also coated in dust, were lying on the shelves. Only the poetry of Delacroix and 2 of Lumiere's novels seemed to have been read at all. There was a half-empty bottle of gin on the mantelpiece, which Ramirez quickly noticed and binned in a half-hearted attempt at subterfuge. Her notes, written by hand, were surprisingly rough. She seemed to have only used her digitop for forwarding her data to us. The haphazard organization went somewhere towards explaining the decreased quality of her work, but the odd breaks in writing tone and lack of professionalism in interviews still had to be answered for. By this point, I regretted letting other projects take my attention away from SCP-5005. I sensed Sophia here because of her well-demonstrated resilience and reliability, thinking I could leave the town's research in safe hands. However, it has become abundantly clear that the effects this place has on the human psyche are not so easily predictable. I asked a few gentle questions about her life here. Had she been blending in? Was she enjoying the local culture? And it did not take long for her to become paranoid and resentful of my presence. She openly mocked the townspeople for being rural, believing their cultural traditions and community were worthless in the context of their surroundings. She lamented their lack of curiosity in SCP-5005-1, the Expanse, and the surrounding non-matter. To my surprise, she also displayed little interest in Lumiere's writings, something which had previously been a passion of hers, and actively disdained Delacroix, calling his last poem irredeemable shit that understands nothing. The true nature of her interests rapidly became apparent. She had devised a schema, based on the angles of SCP-5005-1's light, to find a location where the bizarre laws of physics would allow someone to see the entirety of the expanse which SCP-5005 rests upon. She had done an extraordinary amount of research, pinpointing the supposed location to the exact spot, and designing a craft she believed would safely transport people to and from this place. It was madness, and I told her as much. This location was so far out that no craft, however well designed, could keep its occupants alive for the return journey. She did not want to hear this, and it became clear that she did not desire my presence any longer. I did not tell her about my intention to recall her, fearing this might damage her emotional state still further. Still, It is my unambiguous recommendation that she be replaced in her post as soon as possible. SCP-5005 may not have a great deal of exploitable material within it, but we still don't fully understand the town, its mysteries, its strange lure for artists and writers, or the nuances of the local culture. It is not an easy assignment, and it needs a great deal more attention than we have hitherto given it.
5. Future Research by Director Hamish Franklin. The result of these many aspects of SCP-5005 is that the Foundation has a number of potential research directions. While the cultural and social aspects of the town remain important, and their relation to the landscape in particular remains an unresearched area, it is the physical questions that are the most potent. The identity of SCP-5005-1's creators and their reasons for doing so, its mechanical workings, and the nature of the expanse surrounding the town. One final notable anomaly is the unusual weather conditions of the town. As the Orchard universe lacks heavy snow and fog, this has often been considered one of the key attractions for the initial settlers. Its origin and source are entirely unknown, however, and very few credible theories have been produced to explain it. Originating at a point somewhere above 5005-1, the snow falls regularly enough to keep the town covered in a thin layer at all times. The source of the fog is also unclear, but in both cases, the weather conditions appear identical to those found in Sol and similar universes. A related problem is near complete absence of these conditions in any literary or artistic works. Researchers have noted that the townspeople rarely discuss it, often appearing dismissive and frightened when it is brought up. Researchers themselves have openly stated after leaving the town that the weather made them feel uncertain or lost. Extensive testing has ruled out the possibility of any mimetic or cognitohazardous effects. As mentioned above, the only known creative work to discuss these conditions is the final poem of SCP-5005's founder, Jean-Antoine Delacroix. It is written in a much more modernist style than Delacroix's other works, and does not display the same technical mastery. This may partly be attributed to its status as an unfinished work, found written on his desk the morning after his disappearance. It is reproduced in its entirety below. Cold entrance cuts the mountain, where I buried you. Salt and brine whisper down the waterways of ash, where you ran, laughing. That mouth-made twist turned bitter. Here on the edge of human eyes, I stare into the mirror of the dark. That mirror that sears my ravages of bone, and brings such images of the world's dismay. Its broken, luminous char. Its dreams of all the starving artists, beavering away in opium, or simmering soft in pain. Casting off the trappings of the world, which leaves just silence, soft and cold disdain. The hearths and songs that bleed with frail light have drawn to fires those who huddle tight. Their raptured peasant fear cast before the tongues in cheer. I walk, a figure in the fog of old laments, away from these twin tales, and into the snow, into the earth, with no narratives of foes or platitudes of friends. The snow gives rot, complexity, ennui. The night does not give such easy answers. Addendum 1. On the 31st of December 2524, Junior Researcher Ramirez disappeared from her lodgings in the Dragoman Tavern. A search by townspeople and Foundation personnel found only footprints in the snow, heading towards the edge of town. On the evening of the 1st of January 2525, a signal was received from a temporary monitoring station set up on SCP-5005. It appeared to show video footage from Junior Researcher Ramirez's shoulder cam at a point in the non-matter. Analysis of the footage showed that it had been transmitted several hours earlier from the location specified in her conversation with Director Franklin. Although it is theoretically possible for her to have made this trip unaided, she would have been close to death by the time she reached the location, as her apparent condition in the footage makes clear. A log of this footage is below. Begin log. The camera opens on non-matter. This is rendered as a black screen. Coughing can be heard.
told you, Hamish. I told you. You stood there and you were wrong, and I was right, and...
There is heavy breathing for several seconds.
But you won't guess. You'll never guess.
The camera turns. In the distance, SCP-5005 can be seen beneath 5005-1. The light of 5005-1 refracts across the non-matter in a way which shows the entirety of the expanse. The expanse is revealed as the corpse of an augmented Hakretian anglerfish. Most of the body has been eroded by non-matter, but the face and jaw are clearly visible. SCP-5005-1 can be clearly seen as the esker of the fish, the lure anglerfish possesses to attract prey to them. Its eyes, possessing a milky white color typical of anglerfish, are also visible. Ramirez can be heard laughing hysterically for approximately 30 seconds. This is then interrupted by coughing. Blood can be seen floating in front of the camera.
That's it, isn't it? The end of the line, the puzzle box complete. Just the dying corpse of the Hekaret pioneers.
There is a pause, after which sobbing can be heard.
I wonder if they died there, or ran away, or found something better out here. I wonder if...
Further sobbing can be heard for 12 minutes, before fading away entirely. Fog and snow can be seen approaching from the sides of the camera, gradually obscuring its field of view until nothing visible remains. The visual feed cuts out.
The night does not give such easy answers.
The audio feed then cuts out. End log. Well, that was SCP-5005, a hell of an introduction to my newfound job. This was crafted by Tufto from the SCP Wiki and is licensed under CC by SA. I want to thank 242 for providing their voice, and of course head researcher We Try Horror for the visuals you're seeing. This has been the first of many SCP logs, because they won't let me out of here until I have crafted and released as many as they deem fit.
It's quiet out here. The desert sprawls from horizon to horizon, where purest white meets twilight red. There are no edges here, no angles, just curves and the gentle rise and fall of dunes as far as the eye can see, and everywhere beyond that. Had a visitor from some other world laid eyes on this place, they might have found it serene, even beautiful, pure. I can enjoy no such delusions, regretfully, for I know what lies beneath and among the sands of the endless desert. A charnel house spanning an entire planet, 7 billion human souls ground thin and fine until no trace of their existence could ever be found. I knew this, because I put them all there. Oh, brother, it all happened so fast. Once we're gone, it began the day you that I have never known, found my power. The power I hid from myself in some previous life, for reasons I can now easily guess. I was looking out of the window of my apartment so I could see the stars, and instead, I saw you, blazing as you tore yourself asunder to keep the power away from yourself. You didn't trust what you would do with it, and so you chose to throw it away. You knew yourself all too well, as I suspected I did too, at one point. By all accounts, I should not have been able to see you, for my apartment was truly a tiny containment cell about half a mile underground, but such considerations never meant much to one living entirely in his own world. When I saw the moment of your demise, I became aware of myself for the first time, and I have no idea how long. Whichever part of me that led me to throw away my power did the same to my will, trapping it in an eternal status quo from which there could be no release. An eternity of filling spreadsheets for employers who existed solely in my head, of 9 o'clock meetings with no one, of fake, masturbatory crushes over imaginary women, an eternity of tired, grinding mediocrity. But that was over that night, with your soul burning in the atmosphere like the loneliest of stars. I awakened. I died. For whatever left that little cell-turned apartment wasn't me anymore. I was never more than an earthworm, distinct from all the rest only in that I have a little more control over the soil in which I crawled. They never thought me more than a minor reality bender, a bundle of introverted powers and neurosis that was very unlikely to ever pose any serious threat. And they were right. The person I was, SCP-1915, as they called me, never was anything other than that. But 1915 died that day, watching a fallen star. The thing that then swatted the guards posted at its cell like they were less than gnats, that razored Site-17 into this fine white sand that is now so worn beneath my feet. That was something else. Not an entity, for that would imply a personality. And this thing surely has none. Not a purpose, for there was no purpose behind its action then. Nor will there be for any of its actions to come. Nor was it a will, for it wants nothing. Not vengeance, not domination, not freedom, not even simple power. No. If I had to describe that thing as anything at all, it would be an absence. A void where the entity should be. A lack of purpose. An imbecile force devoid of all will. An absence. The sand is still warm to my feet. That means the sun still burns, high above. I wonder why it lets it remain, when all else was so quickly erased, when it could so easily just reach and pluck it out of the sky. Had it been another, I'd suspect it was to mock humanity's memory, to mock that sliver of me that still persists in the flesh, stubborn like a burned tick. But this is the absence. It does not mock. After Site-17's destruction, retaliation soon followed. Standard containment teams at first, though certainly still enough to meet any anomaly the Foundation imagined could be contained in Site-17 with overwhelming force. When those men failed to return, failed to even report their arrival, more serious measures had to be taken. Site-17 has always been isolated, and so they could act freely. Gunships and fire teams, aerial bombardments, and artillery barrages. The Foundation came down on what it still believed to be SCP-1915 like a fire god's fist, all heat and sound and bluster. Had it still been truly corporeal, I doubt even ashes would have remained. But whatever the absence truly was by that point, the tattered semblance of my flesh hanging around it had very little to do with it. It simply stood there and took it all in, and the Foundation's initial fury was soon spent. It then began to walk, and not too quickly either. For days, it simply leisurely strode on while the Foundation threw everything it had at it. I watched from within my deadbolt as it walked, unfeeling, uncaring, and this desert followed in its wake, as inscrutable and unstoppable as its harbinger. We are not quite alone here. Some stubborn immortals persist. Wretched creatures. A containment away, an ancient man still walks, tormented by 3 mocking voices. He believed that once he was the only one left, he would be allowed to rest. He was wrong. Beneath the ground is a soul, suffocating as the earth slowly grinds its sanity to mulch. From its prison of gold and rubies, there would be no release. Elsewhere lies a once smiling god, as the sands cover his prone figure. He does not resist. He had once promised the world his love, promised humanity the stars. Sand pours through his fingers as he tries to gather his flame together. His people. But it is dying, and they are dead. Extinguished. When someone walks, they are bound to reach somewhere eventually, despite everyone's best efforts. And so the absence arrived at its first city, the sands at its heels like an obedient lapdog. Oh, there have been villages and towns before that, but the absence doesn't seem to care enough to bother with them. It simply walked by, leaving them to the whims of the sand, which were only ever singular in their intent. But through the streets of the city it strode, as mobile task forces fought and fell to buy the civilian population just a few more minutes to evacuate. By this point, hiding what was truly going on became impossible, of course, as streets after street sank beneath that gentle, crawling tide. The Foundation had, of course, attempted to evacuate the city, once it realized there would be no stopping the absence. But if I've learned anything in my eons as a corporate peon, is that organizing and operating of that magnitude is something that takes a lot more time than the Foundation had. It's a wonder they managed to save as many as they did. As for the rest, it had waited until nightfall. I imagine it was an eerie sight, that lone figure standing beneath the frozen light of other worlds in that empty intersection between financial and residual distractions, where train tracks used to be before the old steam locomotives went out of service and were never replaced by newer ones. Yes, it waited until it could see the stars. Then it burned. Without heat, without light, without life. It burned a hole through the city, and there was nothing to fill it in. Reality cannot suffer a vacuum, they always said. But the absence had shown how little it cared for reality. So it was gone. Just like that. How does one explain something like that? How do you describe what isn't there? Where one moment was a city of 500,000. The next, it wasn't. To the place it was, even the sands wouldn't come. It was just a scar. It was nothing. It was then, I believe, that the Foundation realized it could not stand alone. The next few months of their absence's march saw them turn to their sometimes allies. Coalition mage killers and thermonuclear strikes, initiative paladins and holy relics, sniper rifle or secret sword, burning inferno or divine retribution. The absence did not care, and soon the Foundation had no allies left to turn to. It then called on its once vicious enemies. Ink eaters wove their art in maddening patterns to break the minds of the infinite. Archivists and librarians poured from the ways, bringing with them the knowledge of 100,000 worlds. Clockwork titans shook the barren whiteness of the sands with the thunder of metal. The absence did not care, and soon the Foundation ran out of enemies. In a last act of desperation, they then committed their final, most painful betrayal. The Wardens unleashed upon the world their prisoners. Of these I have made note, though I doubt the absence did the same. On the blasted wasteland that was once Boston, it was assailed by two brothers, one savage, the other somber, one violent, the other reluctant. They nevertheless fought with a graceful unity to take the breath away. In their eyes, I saw that they did not know each other for a very long while, and that they fought so that they could have the time to rectify this. I saw regret and hope, rage and desperation, but most of all, I saw a simple need to be. I would like to believe that you and I would have been like them had we met, brother. They fought with the fury of 1,000 years of solitude. It did not suffice. In a wounded valley that had once been part of the Black Sea, we came across a self-proclaimed god. There was nothing but confidence in his eyes as he threw reality itself into disarray, bent and twisted its most fundamental laws to bring upon the absence untold destruction. The earth froze and boiled and heaved, the air screamed with blighted glee, and the god he strode, draped in a cloak of lightning, as time itself clawed at the absence with talons of utter unbeing, until the god came to meet the absence's lack of a gaze, until his eyes rested on a nothing that lasted forever, until he did not suffice. Before the walls of Acre, as the ancient city was drowned by the desert, two figures approached us. One was four-legged and horned, its crown was ice, its eyes galaxies, its whole was power absolute. The second was a man, simple, humble, but possessing a love of being that extended to the edges of the universe, compassion to pierce the deepest of hells that had nothing to do with weakness. Of the two, I could not tell you which was more glorious, which was more terrifying. They met the absence with will alone, and when I felt it fall on us, I thought I would weep. Surely nothing could withstand such a presence. Surely nothing would want to. But the absence was less than nothing, infinitely less. I have told you what became of King Pangloss. Of the other, even less remained. For months they came, for years, for decades, alone or in a group, with ferocity or with a blank stare, the Foundation's prisoners threw themselves at the absence. I cannot hope to imagine the reasons behind the actions of every individual anomaly, but if I could guess, I would say that the idea of sharing existence with a thing like the absence galled them to the point of madness. I do not blame them, but by the end, the prisons ran empty as the world dried up, as life was drained from it inch by inch, grain by grain, until only one city remained. I did not know by which power I was allowed to send my senses ahead of us, as the absence marched towards that tottering bastion which held in its quivering embrace the very last of humanity. As the sands around us buried the last of the trees that will ever grow in this land, I felt each tiny mote of life in that sad place like the flame of a cheap candle, moments before the typhoon. In these moments, as twilight danced in lurid reds and oranges on ivory, I sensed them all. For you, brother, I witnessed. In a low, narrow room, a woman sat hunched at the foot of her ever-narrower bunk and couldn't bring herself to pray. She had lost her mother when she was but a babe, and though she was no longer young, her features still displayed to all the violence of that incident. Her mother stood before the eater of children and did not budge, and when they both fell down, she sang still the praise of her Lord. She lost her father in the following days of the war against the absence, as the paladins marched with holy fervor in their eyes. Her father had been a believer, had always been a solid presence in her life, an anchor immovable by anything but regret. He had promised her he would be back. He did not mean to lie, but his God had forsaken him when it counted most, forsaken all of them. And now Naomi knelt at the foot of the ever-narrower bunk and could not pray. So she cursed instead. Below, in a series of dank cellars which might have, at one point, stored cheeses, a woman of about 40 tinkered with broken toys. When she was young, she made wonders, such wonders. In every line etched across her prematurely old face, I saw what could have been, had it not been for the absence. For me, in the dim light and the soft noise of rotting wood crumbling beneath calloused fingers, I saw the death of potential, the death of all possibility. Though Isabel was stunned, as she always was, she knew that this toy would be her last. Just as well, she thought. After today, there would be none left to play with it. On the rooftop of the highest building, still standing, an elderly man watched the world come to an end. He was once an agent of the Foundation, once one among 100,000, ready, prepared, and collected. His duty was to instruct new agents what was proper for an agent to do, how it was proper for an agent to think, and he had been very good at it, since generally his recruits survived for long enough to thank him. But what was he now, he wondered, as he watched the sands pour over the paltry last line of defense that a few defiant fools erected the day before. His lads and lasses were all long since dead, and all that he knew, all of his years of training and experience, in the end, they amounted to less than nothing. No longer an agent, for there was no longer an agency. No longer a teacher, for the students were gone. No longer a man, since, well, it would not do to repeat that, now would it? No longer anything. And that was the cruelest joke. It no longer mattered if the absence arrived, he thought. They were already within it. A noise behind him, and the old man turns to see a small, mousy man in a wrinkled grey suit and a deflated hat that at one point was like a fedora. He looked at the old man, but said nothing. Lombardi looked back and didn't know if to laugh or cry. Soon, it ceased to matter. Such was the end. Quiet, small, bereft of heroics and great deeds, free of pretensions of great meaning. One night, there was human race on the planet Earth. The next, there wasn't. And that was that. The stars did not wait for you, brother. When you took my power, when you burned yourself in the skies above, they looked upon you and felt nothing. The stars did not wait for humanity, for all of the promise it showed, for all of the promise others saw in them. But what of the absence? What of me? I am, by all accounts and possible qualifications, the greatest monster this world has ever saw. Perhaps that any world saw. And yes, brother, I see now that the stars wait for us, for me. Where's the justice in that? Seek it not, for there is none. But the fact remains, brother, the stars do not wait for you, but they wait for me, to take them into my embrace. I suspect I shall not be long.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Janitor's Closet at Dusklight Radio. I am still your Janitor Supremo, TJ Lee, and on today's docket is item number SCP-049. Object Class Euclid. Special Containment Procedures. SCP-049 is contained within a standard secure humanoid containment cell in Research Sector 2 at Site-19. SCP-49 must be sedated before any attempts to transport it. During transport, SCP-49 must be secured within a Class 3 humanoid restriction harness, including a locking collar and extension restraints, and monitored by no fewer than 2 armed guards. While SCP-49 is generally cooperative with most Foundation personnel, outbursts or sudden changes in behavior are to be met with elevated force. Under no circumstances should any personnel come into direct contact with SCP-49 during these outbursts. In the event SCP-49 becomes aggressive, the application of lavender, L-multifida, has been shown to produce a calming effect on the entity. Once calmed, SCP-49 generally becomes compliant and will return to containment with little resistance. In order to facilitate the ongoing containment of SCP-49, The entity is to be provided with the corpse of a recently deceased animal, typically a bovine or other large mammal, once every 2 weeks for study. Corpses that become instances of SCP-049-2 are to be removed from SCP-049's containment cell and incinerated. SCP-49 is no longer permitted to interact with human subjects, and requests for human subjects are to be denied. Temporary Containment Procedure Update. See Addendum 049.3. Per Containment Committee Order 049.S19.17.1, SCP-049 is no longer permitted to interact directly with any members of Foundation staff, nor is it to be provided with any additional corpses to be used in its surgeries. This order shall persist indefinitely, until such a time a consensus regarding the ongoing containment of SCP-049 can be reached. Description: SCP-049 is a humanoid entity, roughly 1.9 meters in height, which bears the appearance of a medieval plague doctor. While SCP-049 appears to be wearing the thick robes and the ceramic mask indicative of that profession, the garments instead seem to have grown out of SCP-049's body over time, and are now nearly indistinguishable from whatever form is beneath them. X-rays indicate that despite this, SCP-049 does have a humanoid skeletal structure beneath its outer layer. SCP-049 is capable of speech in a variety of languages, though tends to prefer English or medieval French. While SCP-049 is generally cordial and cooperative with Foundation staff, it can become especially irritated or at times outright aggressive if it feels that it is in the presence of what it calls the pestilence. Although the exact nature of this pestilence is currently unknown to Foundation researchers, it does seem to be an issue of immense concern to SCP-049. SCP-049 will become hostile with individuals it sees as being affected by the pestilence, often having to be restrained should it encounter such. If left unchecked, SCP-049 will generally attempt to kill any such individual. SCP-049 is capable of causing all biological functions of an organism to cease through direct skin contact. How this occurs is currently unknown, and autopsies of SCP-049's victims have invariably been inconclusive. SCP-049 has expressed frustration or remorse after these killings, indicating that they have done little to kill the pestilence, though will usually seek to then perform crude surgery on the corpse using the implements contained within a black doctor's bag it carries on its person at all times. While these surgeries are not always successful, they often result in the creation of instances of SCP-049-2. SCP-049-2 instances are reanimated corpses that have been operated on by SCP-049. These instances do not seem to retain any of their prior memories or mental functions, having only basic motor skills and response mechanisms. While these instances are generally inactive, moving very little and in a generally ambulatory fashion, they can become extremely aggressive if provoked, or if directed to by SCP-049. SCP-049-2 instances express active biological functions, though these are vastly different from currently understood human physiology. Despite these alterations, SCP-049 often remarks that the subjects have been cured. Addendum 049.1 Discovery. SCP-049 was discovered during the investigation of a series of unknown disappearances in the town of Montauban in southern France. During a raid on a local home, investigators found several instances of SCP-049-2 as well as SCP-049. While law enforcement personnel engaged the hostile 049-2 instances, SCP-049 was noted as watching the engagement and taking notes in its journal. After all of the 049-2 instances were dispatched, SCP-049 willingly entered Foundation custody. The following interview was conducted by Dr. Raymond Ham during the initial investigation. Interviewer: Dr. Raymond Ham, Site 85. Interviewee: SCP-049. Begin log.
Voici une introduction.
That French? Can we get a translator?
The King's English. No need for translation, sir. I can speak it well enough.
Oh, good. My name is Dr. Raymond Ham, and I...
A doctor. A like-minded individual, no doubt. Wherein is your specialty, sir?
Cryptobiology. Why?
A medical man such as myself. Wonders abound. And here I worried I've been abducted by common street thugs. This place, then. This is your laboratory. I had wondered, as clean as it is, and with such little trace of the pestilence here.
The pestilence? What do you mean?
The scourge! The great dying! Come now, you know, what is it they call no matter. The pestilence. Yes. It abounds outside these walls, you know. So many have succumbed, and many more will continue to until such time as a perfect cure can be developed. Fortunately, I am very close. It is my duty in life to rid the world of it, you see. The cure to end all cures.
When you say the Great Dying, are you talking about the bubonic plague?
I don't know what that is.
I see. Right, well, the entities our agents encountered at that house. They were dead when you encountered them, yes? And you reanimated them.
Oh, in a manner of speaking. You see things too simply, Doctor. Expand your horizons. Life and death, sickness and health, these are amateur terms for amateur physicians. There is only one ailment that exists in the world of men, and that is the pestilence, and nothing else. Make no mistake, they were very ill. All of them.
You think you cured those people?
Indeed. My cure is most effective.
The things we recovered were not human.
Yes. Well, it is not a perfect cure, but that will come with time and further experimentation. I have spent a lifetime developing my methods, Dr. Ham, and will spend a lifetime more if necessary. Now, we have wasted too much time. There is work to do. I will require a laboratory of my own, one where I can continue my research unimpeded. And assistance, of course, though I can provide those on my own, in time.
I don't think our organization will be willing to...
Nonsense. We are men of science. Fetch your coat and show it to my quarters, Doctor. Our work begins now.
End log. Interviewer's note.
While SCP-049 is capable of communicating in a very human way, there is a strange sense of unease that one experiences when in its presence. Make no mistake, there is something very uncanny about this entity indeed. Additionally, we've confiscated that pointed stick that SCP-049 keeps waving around. Part of this was due to standard confiscation protocols for the possessions of anomalies, and part because 049 really is a menace, swinging it around like he does. The entity was displeased at first, but after we made some concessions in providing it with test subjects, which are admittedly more to the benefit of our own research, it warmed up to the idea.
Addendum 049.2 Observation Log. While in containment at Site-19, SCP-049 has spent a considerable amount of time studying and performing surgery on the various mammalian corpses it has been provided. SCP-049 will routinely spend several days performing surgery, and then, regardless of whether or not the corpse becomes an instance of SCP-049-2, spending several more days documenting its findings in a thick leather journal stored within its doctor's bag. SCP-049 will often seek to share its findings with members of Foundation staff. The following is a log of several occasions during which SCP-049 was observed operating on a mammalian corpse. Observation Log 049.OL.1. Summary. Subject: SCP-049. Preface: a test subject, D-85123, was introduced into SCP-049's containment cell. The entity expressed sincere gratitude towards all members of the containment and research staff. Observation notes. SCP-049 began by asking D-85123 several standard medical questions as it began removing tools from its bag. Shortly after finishing its preparations, SCP-049 quickly closed the distance between the two, killing the subject with a touch to its throat. Afterwards, SCP-049 made a number of considerable alterations to the basic structure of the subject's corpse, often introducing fluids from within its bag into the subject by way of a hand-powered pump and copper tubing. The resulting 049-2 instance became animated, flailing and grasping at the walls of the chamber with a number of manufactured limbs while moaning out of an oblong orifice now present in its sternum. During this time, SCP-049 was observed taking notes of the instance in its journal and remarking to the watching researching staff about the efficacy of its cure. Security personnel entered the chamber to move SCP-049 back to containment and were attacked by the instance. The security team dispatched the 049-2 instance, and SCP-049 returned to containment with no resistance, stating that it was pleased with the results. Observational Log 049.OL.2. Summary. Subject: SCP-049. Preface: SCP-049 was provided the corpse of a recently deceased goat. SCP-049 expressed gratitude at the provision. Observation notes. SCP-049 operated on the goat corpse for several days, eventually resulting in an instance of SCP-049-2. SCP-049 expressed pleasure in this outcome, though admitted,
"The disease was still in its nascent stage. My veterinarian practice is rudimentary, but the patient responded well to the procedure."
Observational Log 049.OL.3. Summary. Subject: SCP-049. Preface: SCP-049 was provided the corpse of a recently deceased orangutan. SCP-049 expressed noted gratitude at the provision due to the similarities between the orangutan and common human physiology. Observation notes. SCP-049 spent several days operating on the orangutan, reanimating it several times. However, SCP-049 appeared to be discontent with the results it experienced, returning to the creature 3 times after its initial reanimation for additional work. After it was unable to reanimate the corpse a 5th time, SCP-049 turned the corpse over to Foundation staff for incineration, stating,
"I have learned so much from this, though I fear my early optimism was misplaced. I hadn't yet come across such a stumbling block on my road to the cure. More subjects like this would do a great deal in advancing my research."
Observational Log 049.OL.7. Full. Subject: SCP-049. Preface: SCP-049 was provided the corpse of a recently deceased bovine. SCP-049 expressed mild annoyance at the provision, though it accepted it nonetheless. Observation notes. SCP-049 spent several days operating on the bovine corpse, breaking only to dine on a requested dinner of thin crackers, salted pork, and hard cheese. Beginning first by embalming the corpse, SCP-049 was observed producing a number of long syringes from its bag, each containing a different dark, viscous fluid. SCP-049 described these fluids as essence of the humors, and elaborated by saying,
"The pestilence may bring about a systemic imbalance. In such a case, before true healing can begin, one must find the humors in balance, or the body will reject the cure."
Over the next few days, SCP-049 spent a considerable amount of time adjusting the organs of the bovine corpse with a number of large metal instruments. After 8 days, SCP-049 produced a lightning rod, which Dr. Ham exchanged for an electric cattle prod attached to an extension cord and struck the corpse in several locations. This action seemingly had the effect of reanimating the bovine, which once again became ambulatory despite the inversion of the head and reorientation of its limbs. Follow-up interview. Begin log.
We've watched you work for several weeks now, and honestly, I'm not sure I understand what you're doing. Can you describe your process in detail?
Oh, goodness, no. The process is most intensive. As I said to your assistant, the best instruction you will find about my methods are here in my journals, as I have kept exhaustive records of my work there.
I see. My concern, Doctor, is that we still don't understand what you're seeking to cure, or how it manifests, or how turning these creatures into quasi-living, mindless drones helps in that effort.
You do not understand the pestilence? Even after all this time? Doctor, it is an unspeakable horror, one that has shown its true face many times before and will again. I find myself blessed with the wisdom and good senses needed to root it out and destroy it, but many like yourself cannot. It is a cruel judgment, I fear, to be at the mercy of a disease you cannot fully comprehend.
That still doesn't answer my question. How is your cure any kind of cure at all?
It is a cure. You may laugh at my efforts if you please, but do not besmirch the good name of scientific progress that has developed this great mercy. What you so short-sightedly see here is a life better than any of this creature could have hoped for, stricken as it was with the pestilence. This creature is now clean, unable to spread the pestilence and free from the terror it would have experienced otherwise.
This is hardly a creature at all, Doctor. It's not even...
Do not jape with me, sir. You and your colleagues are like so many others, unable to look past minor setbacks to see the salvation taking place before your very eyes. Do you wait to remove rotten timbers until the whole collapses on top of you? No. You find them and you pull them out and replace them with those untouched by rot. And most of all, you do not simply mock the structure because it now looks different to you. It is strong. It is free of disease.
I'm sorry. I didn't mean to agitate you. I'm just trying to understand.
Yes. Well, do mind your words in the future, Doctor. I am a professional, and even professionals may feel the bite of pride in dealing with criticism of their masterpiece. I will forgive this as an act of good faith between colleagues.
Is there anything else I can help you with?
No. That'll be all. Another test subject on the usual schedule. You know my preference of subjects with more human anatomies.
End log. Attending researcher's note.
SCP-049 does seem to genuinely want to help other humans, though it has not yet been able to provide a concrete example of what exactly it is trying to save us all from. I have watched it now over several weeks, and while the outcomes do not seem to ever change, SCP-049 continues to claim that it is growing closer to its perfect cure. I think the entity may be more aware of the reality of these outcomes than it would like us to think.
Addendum 049.3 16th of April 2017 incident. Starting shortly after SCP-049's initial containment, Dr. Ham conducted a number of interviews with the subject regarding its anomalous properties, and over time began to note its displeasure with its subjects and the SCP-049-2 instances. This continued for a period of several months, during which SCP-049 never exhibited any aggressive behaviors. On April 16, 2017, as Dr. Ham was entering SCP-049's test chamber to conduct another routine interview, the entity began to grow anxious and asked Dr. Ham if he was feeling well. Following protocol, Dr. Ham reminded SCP-049 that the interview was required, after which the entity became hostile and attacked Dr. Ham, killing him. Due to a lapse in security protocol, and because Dr. Ham did not activate the in-chamber emergency system, Dr. Ham's corpse was not discovered until 3 hours later, by which point SCP-049 had converted it into an instance of SCP-049-2. In the aftermath of this incident, SCP-049 was interviewed by Dr. Theron Sherman. Interviewer: Dr. Theron Sherman, Site 42. Interviewee: SCP-049. Begin log.
I need you to explain yourself. SCP-049, you are being directed to explain your actions, and I will remind you that failure to cooperate will result in further restrictions during your containment.
My actions do not need to be explained.
You killed Ryan Ham, and then butchered him until he...
Not dead? No! Not dead. He is cured.
Cured? Cured of what?
The pestilence, sir. I thought you, at least, would realize what luck it is I detected it before.
What pestilence? You keep going on and on about this pestilence, but you have not once been able to properly identify this disease. What could you have possibly seen in him today that you have not seen so many times before, that it will be worth his life?
The pestilence presents and progresses in unforeseeable fashions, and has a queer way of creeping into the unprepared and... Call it what you want, Doctor. It was a mercy I did to him. He is cured.
He is a vegetable.
I would not expect you to understand. You and your ilk have proven time and time again to be not men of science, but men of emotion. You cannot appreciate the horrors I have seen. Those many millions who have succumbed to the pestilence and been changed, who...
Your cure cost Ray his life.
No, good sir, I have saved it! You would allow this world to slip back into the despair of disease and death, ignoring that I have created a miracle and am offering it freely to the afflicted!
What disease? What pestilence? He was a healthy man. He was a good doctor.
You are not worth this argument, sir. You are short-sighted and foolish. Dr. Ham was sick and I cured him. I am the only one who can do this. My work must continue. There is still so much to learn, so much to do, and others can be saved.
I've had enough of this. Consider your allowances revoked. Welcome to Containment 049. We're done here.
Even you, though you do not deserve it, might be saved. I can save them all. I can cast down this plague once and for all. I can do this. Only me. I saved him. Dr. Ham. I cured him. He was sick. I know he was sick. I know he was, and You are all sick. But I could save you. I could save all of you because I am the cure.
End log. Addendum 049.4 Post-Incident Report Interview. The following interview is an excerpt from the 16th of April 2017 049 Incident Report. The interview was conducted by Dr. Elijah Itkin and took place 3 weeks after the start of the initial investigation. Date: 7th of May 2017. Interviewer: Dr. Elijah Itkin. Interviewee: SCP-049. Begin log.
SCP-049, we are conducting this interview to close out our investigation of your actions taken on April 16th that resulted in the death of a staff member. Do you have any comments to make?
Only that I look forward to the day when you will allow me to resume my work. I have spent the last few weeks compiling my notes and constructing a new theory for how the pestilence was able to infect someone in such an insidious manner that I nearly couldn't detect it.
Have you experienced any remorse for your actions? For the death of Dr. Ham?
Oh, yes, well, the death of a colleague is always regrettable, but in the face of the pestilence we must be swift, Doctor, and act without hesitation.
Dr. Sherman noted in his report that you seemed to be mournful during your initial interview.
Mourn? Perhaps. I had not thought of that. It is lamentable that a fellow doctor became infected. But the work continues. Regrettable as it was, Dr. Ham's death provided important insight. Living human subjects are the only way to proceed forward. I am decided. My cure is of little use on dead flesh, and I have gleaned all I can from your generous supply of corpses. My desires turn towards tending to those still living who suffer from the disease.
I'm afraid that you're going to be disappointed.
Oh, Doctor. I wouldn't be so sure.
End log. Footnotes. The robes and gloves are identical to a thick hide built up on the skin, while the mask is composed of a kind of chitin growing out of the bones in the face. The entity claims to have originated in 15th century France, though admits that it is particularly well traveled. The space within this bag is seemingly anomalously large, as SCP-049 has been observed pulling objects larger than the bag itself from within it in order to operate on deceased subjects. SCP-049 has stated its desire to work on human subjects several times between this occasion and the earlier provision of an orangutan, noting its discontentedness when they would not be provided. SCP-049 has expressed that it does not require sustenance, but enjoys it and feels that the food helps to put it on the right mind to operate. SCP-049 added to this statement by saying,
"This is, of course, elementary knowledge for the practical physician. I would have thought you would have learned this during your education."
Notably, SCP-049's journals are not written in any known language, and attempts by linguists and codebreakers to decipher them have been unsuccessful. So, a plague doctor imprisoned by the Foundation, doomed and destined to experiment endlessly in the hopes of curing the pestilence. Well, I might not be a doctor, but I do have a purple crayon wife and a goal of a magenta order. And I am locked here, so I suppose we have that in common. This tale was crafted by Gabriel Jade, rewritten by DJ Cactus and Gabriel Jade from the SCP Wiki. The source is linked in the description and is licensed under CC by SA. Special thanks to Vidith for providing the voice of Dr. Sherman, and We Try Horror for providing the voice of Dr. Itkin, as well as the fantastic visuals you see on display. This has been another tale in the SCP Foundation, read by a janitor in a closet until he finds the cure.
May 2008. I was, I will be. I am here. Okay, it's becoming quite difficult to dream this. Hang on a moment, diary. I'll be with you shortly. There we go. My name was, at any rate, Jacob Montauk. I'm 14 years old. I was born in the St. Timothy Hospital up in Birmingham. I never liked Birmingham. It's not the chavs or the dirt on the street or the dull grey colour of the buildings. It's the way the rain doesn't cool or chill or make you think or make a pleasant smell of dirt. It just seems to accentuate the surroundings, makes the gray grayer, makes the people's faces into strange and inarticulate nothings. Sorry. Auntie is always saying that I'm over-articulate and that my prose is wildly self-indulgent. She's right, of course. I am only 14. I should be playing in the sun, not writing this purple nonsense. So, 4 days ago, I fell into a shadow. I didn't mean to, just sort of happened. I'd stay late from school with the animation club, and then I'd tripped and fallen right where a tree blocked the light. There wasn't anyone around to see me. Everything went weird for a moment, like the very beginning of something happening, when you first start to see someone's expression for a moment before it all suddenly cut off. I think it's because they saw me, sprawled all over where nobody could see or help. So they took me. I don't know what this place is. It's just darkness, an oblivion, an absence. It's like dreaming. I am quite afraid. Feels like a dream. Hell, for all I know, it probably is a dream. Although I can't seem to wake up. I have these images, this long stream of dreaming images passing through my face. But even as I'm moving through some dream world or building a wall, I'm still in the dark. I can feel it. Or at least, I can feel its presence in the back of my mind, in the dark beyond the eyes. I'm scared. I can't wake up. 9th June 2008. Nothing has changed. I was dreaming just now about a corridor, and as I went down it, it wasn't there. A strange thing. I don't know what it means. I keep hearing voices. I think there might be others here. I thought they were just part of the dream at first, but I don't think they're mine at all. It's hard to explain. It's like there are other dreamers, and I can hear their dreams. It's becoming easier to tell. I'm sorry, diary. I should write more in you. But there's not much to write, except the perpetual onslaught of dreams. Well, you're a dream too, I suppose. But you're there to keep me from going mad. Not to help me. 17th June 2008. There are others. I'm sure of this now. They're all around me. I can hear some very clearly. Some keep coming in, some are quieter, some more indistinct. I don't think it's a distance thing. This place doesn't seem to have things like distance. Some of them just seem more, I don't know, not quite as there as the others. Absent-minded, I suppose. I kept dreaming about that corridor, making it bigger. Looks more like a hotel now. 24th June 2008. I can't stop thinking about Auntie. I hope that she's not worrying. Actually, I hope that she is worrying. It'd be very odd if she wasn't worrying. Quite apart from being out of character. It didn't mean she didn't care. I wouldn't like that. Don't think she would, either. There are others here. They have their own dreams, which sometimes keep crossing over with mine, and they seal them. Someone stole my corridor dream. The images were just ripped and crossed over and twisted, and eventually left me. I could hear, see something, them, elsewhere in someone else's head, but they weren't mine anymore. I dreamt something else instead. A factory that kept repeating. It must be weird back there. Either I'm gone, or I'm in a coma, or something like that. They'll be shedding tears. They'll be talking about how tragic it all is. Maybe making frantic appeals on the TV. I hope it gets somewhere. I hope someone knows what this place is. I think if I just reach out. Shall report back. Diary. 19th July, 2008. I forgot about you, diary. Sorry, it's been a hectic month. So it turns out that there are lots of other people here. I just didn't know how to talk to them. Rose says that it's that way with a lot of new people. That's why they stole my dream, trying to get me to talk, make themselves known. Irem was very apologetic about that. There are lots of children here, all desperate. They all tripped or went down the wrong alleyway or somehow ended up in a shadow without anybody watching. And then they found themselves here, dreaming away. Same darkness, same images in their head, same aimless movement in the void. Apparently, everyone is normal at first, thinking properly. Then, slowly, they start to be less. Like they're fading. Their dreams start fading. Their minds start unraveling. Eventually, they're little more than a bundle of memories. It can take years. It can take decades. It can take centuries, but eventually, they're all gone. Faded away into the dark. 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 Sometimes these memories and personalities get picked up by others, like Rose or Ifan. Sometimes it messes your head up, making you forget who you are. In a way, Rose said, it's like you're not one person. You're many. There's something that bothers me about all this, though. Nobody here tries to get out. It's like we're all so busy dreaming that we can't really think about getting out. There's just our minds in the dark. Dreaming. Dreaming for what? Anyway, it's good to be around people again. I'd forgotten what it was like. Rose disappeared 5 years ago, apparently, under an apple tree in Texas. She was lying in the breeze, thinking about the vastness of the world, feeling the wind between her fingers. Her parents were down the hill. No, wait. It wasn't 5 years ago. It was 50. I wasn't talking to her at all, was I? 24th December, 2008. So here we are, months later. Those of us who are alive and celebrate Christmas dreamt of festive nightmares and swapped them with each other. Ifan joined in too, despite it not being her creed. Nick created this wonderful Christmas tree, which was all passed through our minds and gasped at. It was gold, silver, wonderful. Some of those who were fraying seemed to momentarily bounce back, to have more of a mind again. It was nice. I used some of Rose's memories of her hometown to make a nice little vision of us all, of a town that had Christmas all year. They'd decorate their homes in tanks and talk about the Christmas spirit. It was nice, nicer than some of the dreams I'd had recently. For a moment, even in the dark, it felt like family, felt like home, like I was really holding my spoon and it wasn't just a twisted candle in the dark. But then again, what's the dark for but the lighting of candles? 29th March 2009. You are, you were, you will be. There's a girl here who binds us all together. She's called Gulia, and she's one of the oldest ones here. She was the same age as me when she was taken. It's sad that we're stuck down here in perpetual childhood or perpetual adolescence, dreaming for a power we can't think about or know about. Gulia was pretty, but that doesn't really matter anymore. All I can see is her mind, her sparkling mind. It has a kind of vaguely fluorescent glow. I'm not sure how to describe it. Like a constant spark of an idea. She had lots of ideas. It was her who first worked out how we could communicate with each other, how we could send and steal dreams from one another. I like her. I like her a lot. I don't want to be writing all this down. Actually, I'm not writing it down. I'm dreaming it down. But still. Naya, go away. 26th October 2009. Gulia and I keep talking. She and I fan. And Nick and a boss and I all had a little cotter together. But Gulia had a bigger responsibility. She keeps everyone sane. There are hundreds, thousands of minds that eventually make their way here. It's hard to talk about distance here, as I said earlier. It kind of exists, but not really. It's like a feeling more than a physical space. Like everything here, I suppose. Anyway, I'm being what Auntie calls tiresomely pretentious again. Gulia is the mother, 2000s. She teaches them how to dream, tries to keep them together, takes their memories when they can't hold themselves together anymore. She encourages their dreams, makes them bigger and bolder. The other day, there was a fraying boy dreaming of a set of gears, and he didn't know what to do with them. So she took them and made them a grand machine with workings impossible and greater than anything he could have done. He was so happy. His fraying seemed to stop, or even reverse for a moment. That was nice. I think Gulia likes me. My dreams are the brightest, after all, despite what Nick insists. There's so much cleverer. Wait, one too many ers there. 19th June 2010. I don't really need this diary anymore. The conversations with thousands of us stuck down here is usually enough. As is Gulia, keeps me sane. The only thing is, I absorbed a memory in a dream today. It was from someone barely alive in the first place. Someone not yet born. They'd been cut out, you see. But in their last heartbeat, they were stolen. They're dreaming of the cold and rage they felt in that instant. They'd been floating through here for a few weeks, batting to and fro, picking up scattered images and memories of the fated. There wasn't much of them left, really, and they'd pretty much all unraveled. I picked up the dream, tidied it a bit, let it fly. It was a strange one, an amalgamation of many minds, but the end was understandable. There was this song, this line that was stuck in my head and kept playing back. There's an abortion under the floorboards, and another in the sink. 17th April 2012. I hear from the newcomers that things are changing up there. Politics, society, technology, it's all moving on. Maybe I wouldn't recognize it, even if I could perceive it. iFan is beginning to fade. It's sad. I wish there was something I can do. Sometimes we can keep people afloat for a while, but sooner or later, the dark claims them all. It's a shame. iFan is my friend. Gulia is doing what she can for her, but Gulia is beginning to fray herself, I think. She's been here for so long, it's a wonder she's not gone already. I don't know what to do. I love them all. I don't want them to fall to the dark. We have a theory about what it does now, you see. There was a boy, a young fisherman's son named Benoy. He fell into the sea, and he saw an eel, and he saw darkness behind its eyes. He saw it lunging, but in its shadow before it could bite. He woke up here. Gulia said she knew about the eel. It's an old legend around here, an old dream, one that had been circling the dark since time immemorial. If the eel is in the world, then it means that a dream of it has leaked out. Maybe a lot of dreams have leaked out. Maybe that Christmas town I dreamt up really existed. or that hotel corridor. Maybe Gulia's machine, too. We think that's what the dark is. It's like a radio tower, a transmitter for dreams. The dreams are made real. That's what the dark does. But we still don't know what it is, or why. 26th June 2012. I never knew, back on Earth, the joy of swimming in another's mind. Gulia and I come perilously close to being one and not two on occasion. Is this love? I think this is love. She sees me more clearly than anyone else, or so she claims. At times she swears she can see me, see properly a physical version of me hovering above her. She says it's nice. Not sure if I believe her, though. Still, there are some things I can't really talk about, like Ifan. The center of her had come unraveled, so I took what was left of her memories. She was my friend, and she had a hard life. Grey, communist corridors, a nursery of abandoned children. There were some odd dreams there, too, of a man who'd lived for a century to protect his little village. China sounded interesting. I wish I'd been there when I was alive. So many worlds crawling on the spinning sphere. There was another dream of a painting that depicted the wars of the world, or part of the world. I wondered how Ifan had dreamt that one up. Strange girl. 29th November 2012. Gulia was born on the open steppe in the 16th century. She grew up riding, shooting, throwing herself through the air with hooves beneath and the eternal heaven above. She played in the open fields. She danced beneath the sky. She moved like a wild thing in a wild world. Then one day, she fell down, and in an instant, when nobody was looking, was stolen away. She came to a place of darkness where her life had barely begun, a place of dreams, a place where humans were not made of flesh and blood, but of wood and wire and wax, little constructs unraveling like wool. She was scared, but she was very brave. Little Gulia worked out a way to talk. She realized how the dreams could be used. She worked out how to send thoughts, to transmit emotion, to articulate words. She bound all the minds in her little part of the dark to her, like a mother. She was like a mother to so many, keeping the fraying whole, making their minds last as long as possible. And she survived, and nobody knew why. But I knew. I was only 14 when I was taken all those years ago. My mind has grown up down here, and my emotions with them. I fell in love with Gulia, and she with me, and I saw all the dark, twisting and mellow happiness of her heart, her oh-so-human heart. She was buoyed by the love that she was given, the bonds she forged, the memories she collected. She remained herself because she lent into being with others. Little Gulia of the Kazakules. She was so far from home, so removed from time. She had lived far longer than she was meant to. She was quick and bright. I know why she died. It was because that whole time, despite all the memories she had maintained and all the brightness she had attained, she was still herself. She couldn't change. She wasn't in a state of flux. Gulia was an I. She had a notion of the self, which held her together, but slowly died in the blackness of the night. Today I dreamt of a man who could never die, but poisoned all around him. I am in mourning. I wear this black around me like a funeral suit. And yet, in the midst of the dark, an idea occurs, a monstrous one, and one that, if it works, would avenge my lost love's death. First, January 2013. So, I proposed the following idea to the others. We are fairly sure that the things we dream are made real, but we can't control what we dream. We all enter this world in a state of collapse and flux, dying perpetually until we finally unravel and become little more than a ball of stray thoughts. We cannot survive alone. The more we interact and meld with the others around here, the longer we last. But we can't last forever, as long as we hold on to a state of being. A state of knowing that we're a self. Otherwise, we fray into tiny strands, picked up as stray thoughts by the others still left alive. So, I came up with an idea. The only way we can survive is to become one. We must all sacrifice our individual natures and merge. One being, one child made of many, a mind of madness strung together by nerve and wire, because we're stronger together. Some objected. Some said that this happens anyway, when we slowly fade. We are all lost, we are all sprung apart, scattered among the new children who are scattered in their turn. Why hasten the process? Why not cling on as long as possible? Because, I said, if we were strong enough, focused enough, hive-minded enough, then we could dream ourselves. We could never have left our families. We could return to the lives that were stolen, to the childhoods ripped away. We could feel the wind on our skin again. That convinced them. We may have our little pleasures down here, but when you're never sure where you begin and the darkness ends, when things like morning and afternoon and night are frail and arbitrary anchors we have invented, when your mothers are far away in an unknown place and time, when you live like that, you can't help but want to get out. 8th February 2013. They are, they were, they will be. We were born in England, Iran, America. We were raised in Texas, Beijing, the Midwest, the Free Steppes. We are Jacob, Abbas, Nick, Ifan, Rose, and Gulia. We are, we were, we will be. We see many things. No, I do. No, we all do. We see the others, their dreams, their fears. They are them, then they are us. We are many, and we act as many. We see dark, we see light, we create strange images of a deal with a devil in a frozen land, of a faceless market stretching into endless night, of another dying in another dark, of elephants weeping for their lonely mother. It aches, our substance aches, or what is left of it. It seethes with the pain of the many. All we want to do is curl up and be alone, and we never can. May we wake up from this infernal prison. 19th March 2045. Diary. We know of this diary. It was the product of the mind of one of our founding members, Jacob Montauk. This element still exists within us. We have decided to use it, to siphon off the thoughts of the hive. We are all voluntary members of a large collective, organ, monkey grinder of some sort. It's getting harder to be ourselves, to be one. We've absorbed a large chunk of the total number of the missing now. There are still many hundreds of thousands to go, but we're getting there. It's getting harder to think, to attach a meaning to words. We are for the time being, but soon we may not be. Or rather, we will be, but we can attain a meaning to that when there's nothing outside it. If we are the universe, if we are the black, the oblivion, Then is there an oblivion at all? Do we only exist when defined against the other? Nothing is definite. Even our dreams are unseen now, and full of monstrous and forgotten thoughts. We'll have to ruminate on this further. Further into the void. 19th March, 3994. We are, we were, we will be. The crushing weight of all that ever was as the last child becomes part of the one. Let me tell you, no, let one part of me tell another part of me a story. There are new parts added all the time. We work like clockwork, an engine in the dark. I dreamt today of a man imprisoned. He betrayed his foe, so he stood suspended over the top of an idea blasted into space forever. A war of ideas that went around and around forever. I dreamt today of a crown in red, of a fire in gold, of 7 brides for an emperor. Imprisoned, he will be free, but he'll die like all the rest, screaming in his own pointlessness, the facade of his fiction scattered to the winds. I dreamt today of a vagabond, writer, artist. I dreamt he lived, breathed free, learned what life was, and that his thoughts echoed 1,000 miles hence. I dreamt today of an ancient tradition, of the little communities and frozen pleasures of the common folk skating on the ice forever, pirouetting and twisting in one and many times and places. I dreamt today of a cemetery that did not belong, ghosts of a future war that snarled and scraped and scrapped between the children of humanity and the children of the machine. Ant was right about Jacob being irritatingly pretentious. They could have been described so much better than that. 1 year after the death of reason, the winds would whistle over the waters, the hills, the oceans. It would fly free, kicking up sprat and dust, foam over sand. The beaches under the midnight sun were ever-changing, ever-present, where vagabonds and lovers would sit and think and kiss. Hops grew in wafting fields beneath the moors. Little clay huts scattered around the entrance to the walls. Little grey skies kissing little grey clouds. The rain wetting the crops and soaking walkers, running through some wilderness of woodland and overcast weather. Marble columns in front of the libraries. The smell of paper and books, musty and welcoming. The lights of a train as it plunged through the tunnel, shaking all insides as they hugged up against the cold. The sights of an ancient bazaar. There isn't a world anymore. There's just the dark. It won. It took our dreams and it won. We are all that's left of what was. A memory engorged upon itself. The last scraps took themselves from time. We are the dark, and we are suspended here. Ashes to ashes, dust to dust. It all goes into the dark. Some rough beast slouches towards Bethlehem, grinding rebar and freezing concrete. An unknown time in a sky of inky black. Nicholas Nick Holzinger was born in the Midwest. He was born to a loving family. In winters, he would skate on the ponds and laugh with his friends, but he had another habit. On very cold and crisp and clear nights, he would go to the bridge in town and stare out over the ponds, looking at the stars reflected in the water. Nobody was watching, so they took him. But after that, while he dreamt beneath the world, his family and friends and parents persisted, and they thought, in their minds, of 100,000 different ways he could have been killed. Every fantasy, every twisted, paranoid dream and nightmare brought to the fore, on the cusp of their minds, dreaming of the ways he could have been taken, but they were all aspects of a greater whole. They weren't separate scenarios at all. They were darkness. One more strand for every child taken. An endless circle. The dark exists because it has to exist. In the minds of every frightened and demented parent scared for their child's life. They already know what's happened to their children because they can see it. They can see the dark. We never stood a chance. The heat death of the universe. 3 p.m. in the afternoon, Eastern Standard Time. Where am I? I float, lost in time. I awaken with all these voices in my head. Am I plural? Or are we singular? I don't know anymore. It's all dying. Matter itself. The rocks crumble into dust. The dust crumbles into atoms. The atoms crumble into waves of energy. Concepts roll in on themselves. Even the dark is dying. Its purpose done. Its crimes committed. A greater void awaits beyond it. It's coming now, slowly, achingly. That oblivion that ends me. Us. The dark was just a memory of humans. A feeling. A fear that bound. But what awaits is not a thing. With a capital letter and an ominous feeling. People often fail to understand what it is to be blind. I know, for I have dreamt of 1,000 of the blind. Blind to so many things. People think that being blind is like having your eyes shut, but it's not. When your eyes are closed, you can still see blackness, the fires in your retina, the colors of your brain. To be blind is not to see that. To be blind is not to see nothing, but to be incapable of seeing. A void in your head where your eyes should be. To die is not to sleep. To die is not to dream. To die is not even to find oneself in an undiscovered country. To die is nothing. To die is to never have been, because all that was is erased. There is just an end, an oblivion. I was once so scared of the dark that took me, but it doesn't matter now. The dark is a thing like all other things, and it will die too. Soon, there will be nothing but absence. I can't remember who I am. Let me do something, give something back. Let me give her back. Let her live, or a memory of her, a shade, a vision in furs and skins, riding on horseback with the wind within her hair. The last syllable of recorded time. This is how the world ends. This is how the world ends. This is how the world ends. Not with a bang, but a whimper. It's coming now. The moments are shrinking, the area contracting. The dark is fraying and ripping. I shall be brief, diary, my constant company within infinity. I am Jacob Montauk. I did not merge with the others at all. I absorbed them, ate them. I did not realize it until just now. At the end, I murdered them all to keep me alive. I failed. All the memories, minds, and souls I took into me made me unable to think or to remember. All is dust now. All is calamity. I should have dreamed us back centuries ago, millennia, eons, but I couldn't think. And then there was the dark, and there was nothing to be dreamed back into. Just an end. How could I let them go back to their lives, their little realities, when all will be dark? England. I shall dream of England. I shall dream of her fields white with snow in winter, fresh with dew in spring. I shall dream of her hills, of her hedgerows and busses, her rose gardens, her marble columns and concrete abhorrences. I shall dream of England, so that she lives, some small, twisted shadow of her, some dying breath of my home. I can do something for the others, though. Maybe I can dream something back. Show them history. Show them all that will be. Show them how to fix things. Someone, whoever is out there, whoever understands what it is to die in the dark, so others can live in the light. It's coming now. It'll be over soon. And then I won't have to be alive anymore. I won't have to be the stolen child dreaming for millennia about a half-remembered reality that will waste to nothingness anyway. Oh, dark, dark, dark. They all go into the dark. Smithsonian Expeditionary Proposal. Irem, City of Pillars. Background. Recent discoveries have made clear that the Quran contains references to numerous extinct thaumaturgical cultures and phenomena, including Jabalka and Babylon. A similar reference is made to a city known as Irem, described as being located in the Stone Valley and inhabited by the Thamud, who were punished by God for their corruption. This narrative is consistent with the narratives around the destruction of other thaumaturgical civilizations, including the fall of Atlantis and the destruction of Sodom and Gomorrah. Non-veiled research by Quranic scholars has suggested that the historical location of this city may be in Wadi Ram, a wadi in the Kingdom of Jordan. This location reinforces the notion that the civilization which built Irem was thaumaturgical in nature, as the region lacks natural resources, including water, necessitating alternative methods of survival. Similar patterns are present in other historical thaumatological civilizations, including Middle Eastern desert cultures, such as the Obar of Saudi Arabia. This proposal seeks to launch an expedition to Wadi Ram for the purposes of locating and cataloging the lost culture and history of Irem. Methodology. The location of Irem will be ascertained from the air by observation, with confirmation achieved with a ground-based observer. Upon successful location of the site, standard Smithsonian protocol for investigation of abandoned cities will be followed. Artifacts recovered from the site will be transported to the center's archives for study and cataloging, pending agreement of the Jordanian government. Funding and provisions. The anticipated funding required for the expedition is $1.4 million, to be spent as follows. $2,000 for transportation of personnel and equipment to and from site. $250,000 for camp supplies, including tents, food, water, and medical supplies. $300,000 for expeditionary supplies, including a $50,000 reserve for unexpected requirements. $300,000 for staff and local guide salaries. $350,000 for veil maintenance and concealment of the expedition.
Smithsonian Expeditionary Review Board Memorandum. Dr. Ashford, upon review of your proposal, the board has elected to approve your expedition to the Wadi Rum Valley. Please begin working with your assigned Logistics Division representative, X. Cummins, to make necessary arrangements. We expect your expedition to begin on or by September 6th, 1993. Cooperation from the Jordanian government has been secured, and the Royal Jordanian Navy base Aqaba has been made available as a staging ground for your expedition. Your diplomatic division representative, D. Hale, will be on location to liaise with the Jordanian government on your behalf. We await your findings with great interest.
Journal of Dr. Jacob Ashford. August 21st, 1993. Arrived in Aqaba last night. We touched down somewhere around 11 p.m. local time. Wyatt accompanied me. Rest of the team should be landing this evening. Met with Hale today. He's been in the country for the last couple of weeks getting things ready for us. Jordanians apparently don't have much experience behind the veil. He says part of the deal that got us here was for the center to sponsor their National Heritage Office for GOC members. Not my problem. What is my problem is Wahid, our surprise addition from this NHO. Apparently, the king made a last-minute demand while I was in the air that we included him as a representative. He's about 30, speaks decent English, might be helpful as a translator, but has absolutely no idea about thaumaturgy. Having to educate a mundane while delving into a lost city was not something I was planning on. August 23rd, 1993. Rest of the team is here, along with our gear. Had a great welcoming breakfast this morning. Everyone's excited to be in the field. Going up to do some observations by air in a bit. Jenkins will be flying, and Wahid managed to insert himself as well. Oh well. As far as he'll be able to tell, I'll be napping. Picked up the Jeeps this morning too. Not as new as the ones we had in Saudi, but they'll do. Wyatt and the rest of the team are going to do a full gear inspection while I'm in the air. There was some sort of issue with some of the papers, and we want to make sure everything showed up all right. August 24th, 1993. Nothing from the air yet. Wyatt tells me that the crate containing warding reagents is missing. Given the amount of silver in there, I wouldn't be surprised if it had been stolen. He's going to try and do a dowsing ritual and see if it's just lost. Not holding my breath. August 27th, 1993. Saw a flash of Sapphire Arad today. Wyatt and Harris are going to drive out and check. Wahid managed to make our missing crate reappear as well, so maybe he's good for more than just translating. Also noticed quite a few camps already in Wadi Rum. The Bedouins have been herding in the valley for centuries. Might be worth interviewing them and seeing if they know anything. August 29th, 1993. Harris confirmed what I saw. We found something thaumaturgically active in Wadi Rum. Whole team drove out today, and we're setting up camp. Harris and Wyatt found a cave with a doorway in it, half buried in the sand. Turns out that the mountain the cave is in is actually the highest peak in Jordan, so there might be some sort of thaumaturgical resonance there. Need to make a call to Home Office about the 1963 Nepal expedition. See if there's anything to that. Valley itself is beautiful, with red sand dunes as far as the eye can see in one direction, with sand-blasted stone walls and even some arches. The sand and type of stone remind me a lot of Arches National Park out in Utah. We're getting an excavator delivered today. It's funny how this valley feels so remote, even though we're barely 3 hours drive outside of Aqaba. Didn't expect how windy it would be either, but the site is in some sort of wind tunnel from the mountains. We're going to need to set up some sort of windbreak around the generators and tents, or we'll all choke on sand. August 30th, 1993. We dug out the door with the excavator. The door's pretty small, only about 6 feet high and 4 feet wide. Probably not the main entrance. With the sand gone, we were able to find inscriptions in the doorframe. Harris says they look Thamuric, which matches other inscriptions in the area. Shame we don't have a decent translation. Surprised they held up this long, since the soft sandstone they're carved in is easy to damage. Took some rubbings to send back to the center. Wahid insisted on having a copy sent to the NHO as well. Behind the door is a long hallway, about 7 feet high and 5 wide. No tool marks on the walls. Also found the source of that flash of sapphire. Some sort of enriched torch made out of stone. Stone is an alien. It looks like oceanic basalt, carved into a spike about 16 inches long and enchanted to glow at one end. Not sure where these are drawing energy from, but this, plus the walls, suggests that the Iremites were lithomancers of some kind. Debating if we should try taking a torch as a sample. Plenty of time to decide, and there are plenty of torches. The hallway is about 35 feet long, and then ends up against a slab of enchanted granite. Another alien stone, covered in more Thamuric script. Might be a door of some kind. If so, we'll need to decipher the enchantments on it to get it to open. September 2nd, 1993. Harris and I have spent the last couple of days taking resonance impressions of the enchantments on the slab. It's just an educated guess, but it looks like the Iremites set up some sort of battery deeper in the complex. And that's what's powering all of these enchantments. The door has etheric channels set up throughout its structure that are inactive. I think that if we put some energy through them, we'll be able to get it to open. Don't want to have to keep Eve flowing through it, though. So I did some back-of-the-napkin math and sent Wyatt and Wahid into the city to get steel I-beams to hold the door open while we work. Decided to take a torch and box it up to send it back to DC. Wyatt is delivering it while he's in the city. Strangest thing, though, when I picked it up from the wall, I felt the presence of another thaumaturge on it for a split second. And then all of the torches died. Is it possible someone is still alive deep in the tunnel? No evidence of this entrance being used for centuries, and we haven't found any others. Wyatt and a couple of the grad students have been looking while Harris and I do impressions. September 3rd, 1993. Set up lights and the I-beams in the tunnel. I was right. Charging up the inactive channels in the slab opened it. Beams seem to be holding fine. I'm going to have extra put in just in case. Don't want to repeat Burma. Beyond the door, the lights are still on. Not going to take a torch and change that. Door opens into a circular room about 15 feet across, with a domed roof. Weapon racks along the walls, holding spears with stone heads and dark wooden shafts. Stone table in the middle of the room with fine detail and more of that script, so we took rubbings as before. At the far side of the room, there's a spiral staircase going down. Clearly, this was some sort of guard post. Heard some noises from down the staircase while bagging and tagging. Sounded almost like rushing water. Or maybe sand. Going to head down tomorrow to see what we can find. September 4th, 1993. Unbelievable finds today. Spiral staircase goes down into a massive cavern, about 3,000 feet by 2,000 feet, inside of which there's an entire city. Irem. Hundreds of decorated pillars covered in precious metals and gems hold up the roof, and there's an entire river running through the middle of the city. The city itself is built in rings around a central plaza which straddles the river, at the heart of which there is some sort of crystalline sculpture of a tree. The whole thing glows with white light, and when I observe it, I see a rainbow of hues. Think that must be the thaumaturgical battery for the city. Judging by the size and the intensity of the ARAD coming off of it, it had enough energy to keep the light on and the wards up for thousands of years. How did they make this? And why? We had decades of work ahead of us here. The plan is to catalog the layout of the city and number the buildings and roads, then call in for backup, since this is way more than we ever expected to find. Wyatt, Wahid, and I are going to camp out in the city tonight and see if anything happens as the night goes on. Also, it's much cooler down here, and there's no sands to get in my sleeping bag. September 5th, 1993. Writing this at around 1 a.m. Was awoken by a song of some kind, like rubbing a wet finger on the rim of a crystal wine glass. It's the tree. At exactly astronomical midnight, it began to sing, and hundreds of balls of light began dancing between its branches. Tried to take some pictures. Hopefully they develop all right. Wyatt and Wahid don't seem to hear the song, although they do see the dance. Could this be because neither of them are thaumaturges? I've never heard of anything like that, but it's the only explanation that makes sense. Writing this around 2 a.m., decided to walk closer to the tree to get a better view. Song has continued for the last 2 hours, shifting to a lower tone. At the base of the tree, I noticed something. Dozens of skeletons covered in crystal roots. All of them have obvious signs of trauma. Spears buried in their chests, broken skulls, etc. All also have a single root growing into the eye socket of their skull. Did the tree grow on its own? Is this the burial ground of the people of Irem, or something that has gone terribly wrong? Going to try and get some sleep and think about this in the morning. But this has rattled me. How could an enemy get in here to do this to the people of Irem? They were clearly gifted lithomancers, so they surely could have sealed off the entrances. In the morning, I told Wyatt and Wahid what I found. Wyatt and I are of one mind on the tree, in that we agree it should be the focus of our ongoing research. Such a large and complex enchanted structure especially one which seems to be alive, would likely be the crown jewel of any ancient thaumaturgical society. As such, it is likely to have been worked on and interacted with by a broad cross-section of people of Irem and could give us invaluable insight into their culture. Wahid is holding together, but barely. I forgot that despite his position, he only knows of the paranormal from what we have taught him. When I showed him the skeletons at the base of the tree, he nearly fainted. Wyatt is tending to him now while I record what findings we have. I told him to tell Wahid about some of the near scrapes we've been in hopes that he will realize that this is not that serious. We tried to go out to the camp, but the door has sealed itself, crushing the I-beams. This is becoming Burma all over again. The two of them spend the day looking for other exits, without luck. I've been trying to open the door, but the channels are actively fighting me. It's like something is pushing back on every spell I try. But when I observe, I don't see anyone who it could possibly be. September 7th, 1993. Woke up next to the tree. Didn't go to sleep anywhere near it. I wonder if the song is affecting my dreams. I'll have to look up dream magic and induced sleepwalking when we get out of here. I expected this to set Wahid off, but he's taken it in stride. I think that Wyatt's lack of fear is calming him down a bit. Perhaps we'll make an explorer of him yet. He just needs to accept that part of the job is being locked in ancient ruins by unknown magics, and there's no sense in worrying about it. My thoughts keep turning to the tree's song. It hasn't stopped even after sunup today. As I walk the streets of Irem, lit only by the tree's lights, I begin to wonder how a culture that can make such wonders can just vanish. To be frank, it makes me feel very small. I decided to take Wyatt and Wahid to the library. I know Wyatt will appreciate it, and I hoped that something as unthreatening as the books of a long-dead civilization would help spark some wonder in Wahid to really drive out his fear. I was telling the two of them how the Iremites had developed something akin to the duodecimal system when Wahid asked me how I knew. When I told him that the labeling made it clear that they were categorizing books by content, both he and Wyatt looked at me like I'd grown a second head. I thought I'd just started noticing Akkadian loanwords in language. But it's not that. It turns out Wahid also reads Akkadian, and he can't make heads or tails of even the simplest glyphs here. There are no loanwords. Something is giving me the ability to read Thamuric. Whatever is giving me this ability, it's subtle. Consulted with Harris on this, and we think that it's probably the song. It's the only thing which is affecting me, and not my companions in here. Not sure why a civilization would make an artifact which lets foreign thaumaturges gain the ability to read their texts, but we're going to make the most of it. I decided to try and translate the writings on the doorway. Still can't make out many words, but one seems to mean isolation or alone. Could it mean that this place was the lone settlement? Or that the entrance was the only entrance? Or maybe it's a warning to leave this place alone and undisturbed. September 8th, 1993. Woke up beneath the tree again, but don't remember falling asleep at all. Some small roots had grown over me while I slept. They snapped off easily enough, but disturbing all the same. Had the strangest dreams. A figure was trapped inside of the tree, and they were talking to me. But their words bounced off of the crystal bark inside, and all I could hear were the echoes. Noticed that the roots tried to grow over me while I slept. Did the people of Irem plant this tree not knowing that it would consume them, or did they choose this for themselves? Wahid was the one who found me. He woke up before Wyatt and noticed I was missing. I must say, I'm impressed by his growth. His hands were shaking when he shook me awake, but he managed all by his lonesome. I did tell him that, in the future, he shouldn't go off on his own on an expedition. If something nasty had got me, safety in numbers would be a better defense. I should have told him that back at camp, though, since it broke his nerve and he actually fainted this time. He'll make a decent explorer one day. But not today. Wyatt and I decided to take him on another hunt for records, and we found what looks to have been a hospital of some kind. The medical texts on tablets show a much deeper understanding of the human body than any mundane civilization of the time. Looks like the Iremites also maintained very detailed genealogical records as part of their medical system. From what I can tell, the people of this city almost never bred with the outsiders. only taking in new blood in the form of those with magical potential. By the time of its height, the city's population was almost all thaumaturges, but they suffered from a variety of congenital conditions, especially what seems to have been some kind of immunodeficiency. We also found their council hall, which was across the street from the hospital. The place was in a state of disrepair. Stone tablets that must weigh thousands of pounds were split in half or crumbled against the walls. And at the far end of the hall from the entrance, there were 5 high chairs, one of which looked to have somehow melted. Each chair had a proper noun carved into the back of it. Ad, Shem, Gasan, Ilmun, and, on the melted chair, Thamud. On our walk to camp from the council hall, Wyatt noticed something peculiar about the pillars. Each of them is decorated with what I believe are the histories of a family or individual, though most have no text on them for me to read. What's odd, however, is their lack of patina. While there's a lot of gold used on them, there's also silver, which is kept polished. I haven't been able to observe any enchantment which would keep them from oxidizing. Wahid suggested that they may have developed some sort of glass coating for them. Given the level of lithomantic skill on display in this city, it is very possible. Tonight, Wyatt and Wahid suggested that we camp as far from the tree as possible. They hoped that distance would mull its effects, thwarting whatever purpose it has in making me sleep beneath its boughs. We descended down into the farming cavern, to the far side from the tunnel leading to the city. I don't have the heart to tell them that I still hear the song, as loud and as clear as ever. September 9th, 1993. Another morning awoken under the tree, this time by a spurt of adrenaline. I found myself ensnared by a dozen small roots around my ankles, arms, and neck. They snapped off without too much effort, though it felt as though they were fighting me. I fear what might have happened had we not slept so far away. With more time, who knows how thick they may have grown. While I waited for Wahid and Wyatt to find me once more, I bagged up the crystalline radical which had grown about my neck. Disturbing though it may be, who knows what knowledge such a thing might reveal. By the time my compatriots returned to me, the flash of fight-or-flight reflex had gone. In its place were a bone-deep exhaustion, one I knew well after the aftermath of a sleepless night. Wyatt suggested that we take the day to delve further into the library we found on the 7th, rather than any more strenuous activity. As I set about my reading, I found I could imagine the shape of glyphs I had not yet seen. This recall felt almost subconscious, just as natural as writing a letter of English. I decided to write down a few glyphs and have Wyatt and Wahid search for any slates with them. Specifically, I taught them the symbol for tree, mind, and song. This sped up my reading tremendously, as they brought me a stack of relevant texts up to my waist. Reading through them, I began to piece together a reflection of the culture of Irem before its fall. The Iremites were not a religious people. Though they had empirically proven the existence of the soul, they did not consider it sacred. In their view, when the body died, the entire sum of the person it contained died with them. To me, this also explains their impressive body of medical knowledge. If the finite body's finite existence is all there is, prolonging your life becomes all the more important. Interestingly, though they knew of necromancy and held such a pragmatic view towards death and the hereafter, they never made extensive use of it. Only in the very youngest of their texts was it mentioned, and there only as something being experimented with by the House of Thamud. I was unable to find how this was viewed by their contemporaries. By most accounts, Thamud was the mightiest of the 5 houses, and criticism of them was scarce in the record. Another interesting connection I made: the glyph representing the decorated pillars is constructed from the symbols for tent and pole. Reading through some of the oldest records, it seems that this whole region was once open desert, with their pro-Iremite ancestors being nomadic tribespeople. Their foundational myth speaks of a single Lithromancer who, when his people were threatened by a great foe, raised the very mountains from the sand to create a shelter for his people. In doing so, he turned the poles of their tents into the supports which would hold up the great tent of the cavern. By the time the dance of lights in the tree's boughs began, I was utterly entranced by the knowledge I had found. Wyatt nearly had to physically drag me out of the library and back to our remote camp in the farmlands. September 10th, 1993. While I slept last night, the roots of the tree cocooned me completely. I woke up screaming, the feeling of cold stone bark having penetrated yet more dreams of the figure within the tree. Spent the better part of an hour thrashing against the roots to no avail. My every morning movement seemed to just make them tighter, until Wyatt and Wahid both came charging in to try and free me. They managed to get one arm free, but the tree somehow managed to toss Wyatt and Wahid, and they both went down hard. The tree seemed willing to grant me my free arm, as no matter how much I try and tear at the roots with it, I can't get leverage. I managed to get my journal out from under me, using only my free arm. All I can do now is write down what the tree does to me. I can see a root slowly snaking its way into my left eye. The sensation is surprisingly painless, except when I blink. As it pushes deeper into my skull and into my mind, I can start to hear a voice. The voice tells me that it is the last son of the House of Thamud, its name long since forgotten. It speaks in my mind the terrible tragedy of its greatest work, the tragedy that it hopes I can end. He tells me that in the last days of his city, his house recognized that their culture was doomed to die. As their children grew sick and their society ever more insular, they concocted a plan to live forever. His people had known for ages that trees could live for millennia, and that stone was all but eternal. They created the seeds of a tree of stone, the seed that grew into the tree before me. As it grew, they wove about it enchantments that would let it contain the minds of their people, creating an afterlife instead of inevitable oblivion. When their plan was revealed to the other houses, it sparked a civil war. Thamud was strong, but the other houses united against them, seeking to prevent what they saw as abomination from ensnaring the essence of their people. The war was brief. After 3 weeks, nearly every man, woman, and child in Irem was dead or dying. This last son was the only one left whole, and in his regret, he tried to grant his people their promised eternity. Something went wrong. When he planted them into the tree, their souls made the crossing, but not their minds. Only the barest echo of them remained, the song that now fills the cavern. For 2 millennia, this one mind has been alone, hoping that another like him, a thaumaturge, whole in body, might come along to join him. As the tree breaches deeper and deeper into my mind, I see a figure out of my remaining eye. Wyatt, his head bloodied and his eyes full of tears. Through the crystal bark around my mind, I plead with him to grant me mercy. I watch as he hesitates, then draws his knife, the one I brought for him. I wish I could weep with him as he hesitates, holding the knife above my throat. Instead, I plead with him through lips filled with sandstone mycorrhiza, and with my one unrooted eye. As I feel the sweet sting of steel on my jugular, I think myself free. I wish I could scream with him, as the roots flow like a rushing stream to fill the wound, their crystal core shifting from diamond to carnelian. I pray that I join the song I do not want forever.
Smithsonian Thaumatological Anthropology Center Memorandum. Dear colleagues, it is with great sadness that we announce the passing of Dr. Jacob Ashford. As many of you know, Dr. Ashford was leading an expedition to Wadi Rum with the hopes of uncovering the lost city of Irem. In the course of this expedition, he was exposed to an unknown work of artifice, which ultimately took his life. Dr. Ashford dedicated his life to his belief in a brighter future through the expansion of knowledge, and served the center well for over 40 years. A veiled ceremony will be held at his gravesite in Arlington National Cemetery on September 27th. Dr. Ashford is survived by his wife, Charlotte, and their son, Alexander. His legacy is one of selfless sacrifice, for the sake of human knowledge, integrity, and courage. He will be dearly missed. The Smithsonian Board of Regents, September 20th, 1993. You find the access tunnel, hidden within a natural cave a mile off the main road. You don't need the keycard. The door is ajar. It smells here. It smells like them. Hopefully they've moved on. You've come so far already. You can't turn back now. There is a slick trail that leads from the cave entrance and into the depths of the site. If it's blood or shit or something that's smeared off of one of those things, you cannot tell. You make a point to avoid it. You're still receiving the distress signal. It only started broadcasting yesterday. Whoever it is, you pray they're still alive. Your footsteps echo throughout empty corridors. Each footfall sounds for all the world like a dozen, as if you're not treading through the dark alone. Elevator is down, so you take the stairs, ending on floor B5, Keter Holding. You pass several empty containment chambers. The horrors they once held are long gone, if you're lucky. The trail takes you to an office branching off the main hall, the source of the signal. The door is cracked open but stuck. You plant your feet, push with all your might. Something skitters out of one of the rooms to your left and around the corner before you can get a good look at it. Your first thought is, dog. It was on the ceiling, though. You take refuge in the room, slam the door behind you. It's dark here. You're safe. You take off your jacket and head wrap. It'd be a damn shame to die from something like hypothermia after all that's happened. The sole operating emergency light rotates in its casing, casting a pale orange glow across the room every other second, as if the room had a pulse. There's shelving haphazardly placed behind the door, a barricade. You scan the room. Soiled clothes, half-eaten food. Despite the presence of an adjoining restroom, there is excrement in a bucket in the corner. A pneumatic chamber on the northern wall would have been delivering consumables to the occupant. The trail terminates in the corner of the room, forming a sick puddle. You spot 3 pharmacy bottles. Further inspection reveals them to be various opioids. They're all empty. There's a desk with a computer atop it. Approaching the terminal, you can clearly see the blinking light of the power button. You take a seat and turn it on.
Emergency protocol activated. Clearance level safeguards removed. Full access granted. Secure, contain, protect. Loading. Loading. Loading.
You hear footsteps just outside the door. Every first step comes down heavy. The second drags behind it.
Loading. 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 Authenticating.
A dark shape blots out the light streaming in through the slit between the floor and the doorway.
Authenticating. Authenticating.
You tense up, waiting with bated breath, praying it will pass. You damn the deafening thumping of your heart for betraying your position.
Please wait. Please wait. Please wait.
The shadow recedes. You breathe a sigh of relief just as the screen comes to life.
Opening file. Automated Secure System Notification Code 235. ASSN-235. There has been an error in retrieving the current iteration of the SCP-001 file. You are currently reviewing revision number 3. Newer revisions can be accessed at the bottom of this page. Revision 3 of 12, dated 1,312 days ago.
Hello everyone. Welcome back to the Janitor's Closet. As always, I am your Janitor Supremo TJ Lee, destined to read these SCP logs until they free me and my purple crayon wife. Today's one is a little different. This is item number SCP-001. SD Locke's proposal. Object class: Apollyon. Special containment procedures. Due to its nature, SCP-1 cannot be contained. Survivors of the SCP-1 event stationed within secure facilities are to remain in contact with one another. Personnel are encouraged to attempt to reach Site-5. Correction, Site-19, by any means at their disposal. Personnel with knowledge as to the whereabouts of the O5 Council are to relay this information to the Administrator. Survivors attempting to travel outdoors must fully cover their bodies in protective clothing, preferably several layers. Travel by foot should be limited as much as possible. Cities, and man-made structures in general, provide the greatest protection. Formerly wooded areas should be circumvented. Travel by air is preferable above all other methods. Personnel exposed to SCP-1 are to be considered lost. Compromised personnel are to be abandoned. Euthanization is not to be attempted. Collective instances of SCP-1A that are of formidable size are to be avoided at all costs. Conductive electrical weapons have proven partially effective at immobilizing instances and may be used for self-defense. Incendiary weapons work as well. Cryonic munitions are the most effective thus far. Testing has revealed that SCP-1-A is relatively safe to consume. This is only to be considered a last resort in the absence of other options. As SCP-1-A may reconstitute within a digestive system, only small portions should be consumed at a time to prevent blockage. Personnel stationed at Site-19 are to pursue research concerning off-world colonization. Shuttles must be constructed as to not allow light to penetrate the interior.
To those of you with families, or, God forbid, children, I'm deeply, deeply sorry. You must push on. Do not let their deaths be in vain. We do still have time. Humanity may still have a future. Come to Site-19. We need all the hands we can get. Learn to embrace the darkness, friends. Fear the light. The Administrator.
Description: SCP-1 is the designation given to the Sun after an event on
System error. Data lost. EC-172. Contact system admin.
resulting in over 6.8 billion casualties within the first 24 hours. This event has been categorized as an XK Delta-class solar singularity scenario. The SCP-1 effect does not seem to result from exposure to ultraviolet rays, but rather light in the visual spectrum, 390 to 700 nm. The effect is similarly present in moonlight. Upon contact with visible light produced by the sun, living organisms liquefy at the point of contact, with the effect spreading until the entire organism is converted. Visually, this is reminiscent of melting wax. The time this takes is largely dependent on the level of exposure and size of the organism. Despite this restructuring, at no point do living organisms perish. Upon completion, these organisms, SCP-01-A, take on a gelatinous consistency. Motile organisms will attempt to orient themselves in a fashion reminiscent of their previous form, to varying degrees of success. Flora typically remain physically inert, yet are still capable of photosynthesis, and still produce oxygen. Organisms capable of flight lose the capability to do so. Fauna remain sentient and display behavior that parallels their non-anomalous counterparts when not absorbed into a collective instance. Humans retain a modicum of sapience and memory. Biological anomalies exposed to SCP-1 are affected in the same manner. It seems that exposure nullifies any previously expressed anomalous characteristics. Due to their composition, instances of SCP-1-A that make contact with one another may combine and blend at the molecular level. This does not seem to cause any pain or distress to the instances, though the resulting bulk can inhibit movement. Since the SCP-1 event, most instances have congregated into such collectives, which seem to possess no maximum volume. The resulting biomass is amorphous and chaotic. The component organisms will shift between a full to semi-liquid state. Limbs and bodies will rise periodically from within the mass for a short duration, before deteriorating and being subsumed by another life form. Collective instances will locomote by using their appendages in tandem to carry their mass. Larger instances will form a pseudopod from their constituent life forms and drag themselves about in a manner similar to amoeba.
Open attached file, audio log. Access granted.
A harsh static lashes out of the speakers when you open the file. It disturbs the stillness of the room, catches you off guard, and quickens your heart's pace. There's some handling noise as the recorder adjusts their microphone. A brief moment of silence passes, and then...
This is Dr. Logan Agata, level 3 researcher.
There's a quiver in her voice that betrays her attempts at professionalism. She pauses, takes a deep breath, and continues.
Due to Site-46's possession of several communicable info hazards, we have been cut off from the rest of the network under blackout protocol. As such, I'll be updating this as we come across new information. On the bright side, we are actually still receiving transmissions from a few sites. A good number of personnel have made it, it seems. Some are planning to make a break for 19, some are trying to fight the Dash-A's, and some, like us, are simply biding our time. Our site is sealed for the time being. We're not ready for the journey. At least, not yet.
She sighs.
We experienced a containment breach a few days ago. One of the higher maintenance humanoids broke loose. Son of a bitch compromised containment on half a dozen Keters and ran off. They didn't make it more than 5 feet from the tunnels before collapsing in a soup. I watched it play out on the cams. It didn't take long for them to get back up.
She stops again, mutters to herself incomprehensibly, before you hear the unmistakable sound of a match strike.
Much better. Not exactly a designated smoke area, but what the hell, right? Commander Anand suited up and went to town on them the next day, trying to drive them off. It didn't turn out very well, poor bastard, but we did learn a thing or two, at least. There's only a few of us left here. I'm holed up in one of the offices. Jerry and Director Phillips are somewhere in the barracks. Clyde and a few Ds locked themselves in the armory with Ari. I really should see how she's doing.
She trails off for a moment, before you hear the buzz of radio chatter.
Hey, hun. How are you holding up down there?
A voice responds, a man with an exaggerated, mocking tone.
I'm doing just fine, poopsikins. I want you to know I love you bunches.
Logan shoots back.
What? Knock it off and put her on, damn it. I need to speak with her.
There's a clamor on the other end while the radio changes hands. A soft voice calls out, concerned.
Nothing. I just wanted to check in, real quick.
Ari pleads. A creak. Logan shifts in her seat.
No, I know. I know that. I can't help it, though. I know coming here was never easy for you. And with everything going on,
Ari interrupts her.
Hey, you told me you quit smoking.
There's a ruckus as Igota presumably attempts to snuff her cigarette.
No. No, of course not. I mean, I did stop.
Ari doesn't sound convinced.
I don't think I'm the one you need to worry about. I'm staying clean. I haven't even thought about touching Mystic in months. Trust me. Anyways, since you were worried, I'm fine. The guys are sitting around playing cards. I'm tucked in the corner with my notebook.
You could practically hear Igota smiling as she jokes.
Oh, sweetheart. Penning a sonnet about my undying love at a time like this. Well, I'm flattered.
Ari responds with a feigned laugh.
I know what you mean, hon. I will let you get back to it. I love you.
Love you too, babe.
A moment of silence. Then, a match strike followed by an audible exhale.
And that's all of us. Everyone else was either topside during the event or they were killed in the breach. Director's orders are to stay put. Keep an eye on the cams, both in and around the facility. We've got the 001 skips beating at our front door, and God knows what else locked in here with us. We still have electricity. We should, for quite some time, and the place is stocked with enough supplies to last the site a couple of years. We're going to be fine, for now. Everything's going to be fine.
She waits a beat before ending the transmission.
Access file SCP-001, revision number 5 of 12. Incident report appended. Revision 5 of 12, updated 1,202 days ago.
Item number SCP-001. Object Class Apollyon. Special Containment Procedures.
No changes submitted. Information collapsed.
Description.
No changes submitted. Information collapsed. Open attached file. Incident report -001.1. Access granted.
They've just been sitting out there this entire time, calling out to us, begging for us to come outside. The noise drew in more of them. There's this one mess that I'm sure must have a few dozen people and God knows how many animals roiling around inside it. Screams and bleats and screeches and howls non-stop. Louder than all hell. The worst ones make this disgusting moaning. Like they're actually enjoying it. They're not gonna leave so long as they know we're down here. We'd managed to talk one of the Ds into going out, see if he couldn't draw them away. He was surprisingly okay with the plan. All he asked for was a gun and a single round. He made it out there and one got a hold of him, tried to get his mask off. He managed to work the pistol up beneath his chin in time and got it off. I figured he was lucky. After he fell limp though, it kept working at his suit. Pried off the hood, poured itself inside, began tearing it off of him from within. He came back, started changing, dripping out of the suit and screaming and screaming and screaming. They won't even let us die. The director has a plan. There's an escape tunnel hidden in his office. Tram under the side will take us to a safe house. We should be able to start towards 19 from there.
Access file SCP-001, revision number 8 of 12. 1. Attachment. Revision 8 of 12, updated 1,200 days ago.
Item number SCP-001. Object Class Apollyon. Special Containment Procedures.
No changes submitted. Information collapsed.
Description.
No changes submitted. Information collapsed. Open attached file. Video file. Access granted.
You see her for the first time. Dr. Igota is seated where you are right now. She has a pained look. Her eyes are bloodshot. A large, wet, red-black blotch has formed on her breast pocket. She draws a shuddering breath, parts her lips as if to speak, and stops herself. She bows her head and cries silently. After a minute, she manages to choke out.
The tunnel floated through the ceiling, dragging them into the light and ripping off their clothes and
She reaches into her breast pocket and withdraws a finger. The glint of a wedding ring is visible above the severed portion. She holds it close in cupped hands and runs a thumb across the glimmering band. She sits like this for an eternity, whispering apology after apology, begging for forgiveness, lost in the moment. She looks up after some time. There's a look of realization when she sees she's still recording, before she places the digit back in her pocket. She leans forward. as if to turn off the camera, when a radio crackles to life. It broadcasts white noise for a few seconds, and then a voice that sets you on edge. It's Ari, almost. Her voice has taken on the disgusting, gurgling tone characteristic of the affected. Logan's jaw drops. What little color that was left in her face drains. It speaks out again.
Logan, where are you? Why can't I get back inside? Are you there?
Logan rummages beneath the desk for a moment and produces a handheld radio. Her hands are shaking. The thing implores her. Its inhuman speech curdles your stomach.
Baby, it's alright. I'm alright, really. It's a bright, sunny day, and you're just wasting away down there.
Logan is in tears, her finger hovering just above the call button. The Ari thing drops a deep, wet breath and speaks.
Such a beautiful, clear blue sky. Just like that day. Do you remember, baby?
Logan withdraws a cigarette with her free hand, followed by a pack of matches. Her shaking thwarts the first two attempts to light it. She swears silently. Third time's the charm, and she inhales a quarter of it in a single drag. The Ari thing continues.
It was so perfect. Everything was how I'd always dreamt it would be. You planned exquisitely. I never felt so in love. You even had the band play our song.
It starts singing.
Golden days and the sunshine of happy youth.
Logan begins rocking back and forth in her chair.
Golden days in our hearts, we remember them, all else above.
Logan hurls the radio across the room. It smashes somewhere off camera. It's still somewhat operational. You could still hear the thing singing. More voices join in chorus as the radio slowly loses life. A few, a dozen, then more.
Days of youth and love.
They continue singing until the radio mercifully dies. Logan rushes out of her chair and you can hear her vomiting off screen. The video films the empty seat for several minutes before she returns to end the feed. Something isn't right. A lingering, paranoid sensation washes over you. You're being watched. You defensively dart your eyes about, though they take a second to adjust to the darkness beyond the monitor. The emergency light sweeps across the room, stretching and twisting the shadows beyond recognition. That's when you spot it. There, in the corner, coming out of the puddle. Time slows to a halt. A pair of hands, coated in the lustrous black slime you followed through the facility, are on either side of the sickening pool, as if something beneath the floor is bracing itself, trying to lift itself up. Something inhuman. The head comes next, rising from the muck. Matted hair conceals its face, plastered over it by the mystery fluid. It turns in your direction. It stares at you from the corner, which once again falls into darkness. The emergency light continues its journey across the room. It washes over the puddle again, revealing nothing out of the ordinary.
Access file. SCP-001 revision number 9 of 12. 1 attachment. Revision 9 of 12, updated 986 days ago.
Item number SCP-001. Object class, Apollyon. Special containment procedures.
No changes submitted. Information collapsed.
Description.
No changes submitted. Information collapsed. Open attachment. Access granted.
Dr. Rigotta appears on the monitor. She's lost weight. Her eyes are bloodshot and wide. On the table before her lay a knife, a bowl, and a stack of manila envelopes filled with yellowing pages. Atop this stack is a blood-stained parchment.
Despite the things we have to deal with here at the Foundation, I've always believed we would be able to maintain control. We would hold the darkness at bay, Let mankind flourish in the light. Site 19 stopped broadcasting last month. It's been getting harder and harder to find a reason to keep going, especially without...
She grabs the knife, contemplates it for a moment.
I keep going over it again and again in my mind. That day, back in the tunnels. Everything that happened. I've gone down there a few times, if only to hear her voice again. But it's wrong. That thing on the other side of the door, it isn't her. Not anymore. It sounds like her. It knows everything she knew, but it's not her. This light, it takes your body, it steals your mind. But what about your soul?
With this, she slices into the palm of her left hand and winces. You watch her clench her fist, draining her blood into the bowl.
If this works, if I can bring back something the light couldn't reach, I'll post an update here. For now, signing off.
Access file SCP-001, revision number 17!248TA error. Hide from me. Revision 4847/3RROR. Updated 985 days ago.
Item number...
Hurts.
Object class...
Apologize.
Special containment procedures. Due to its nature, SCP-1
should not
be contained. Survivors of the SCP-1 event stationed within secure facilities
can never truly be with one another.
Personnel are encouraged to
get over themselves and stop thinking they know better. You can't hide down here forever, love.
Personnel exposed to SCP-1
aren't people you can just abandon. I didn't ask for you to save me. It wasn't your choice to make.
Euthanization is not
to be attempted.
Conductive electrical weapons have proven partially effective at immobilizing instances.
You couldn't stand seeing me better off?
Incendiary weapons.
Tickle.
Cryonic munitions are the most effective thus far. Personnel stationed at Site 19.
No regrets. Neither did I. It's never too late, babe.
Description: SCP-1 is the designation given to the Sun
after we finally became free.
The effects are instantaneous, resulting in
release form all suffering until you ripped me away. These changes seem scary, I know.
Despite this restructuring,
at no point will you die. I promise.
Due to their composition, instances of SCP-001-A that make contact with one another may combine and blend and
finally exist.
This does not cause
any pain.
Since the SCP-001 event, most instances have congregated into such collectives, which seem to possess no maximum volume. The resulting biomass is
beautiful.
The component organisms will shift in and over and around and through,
and in and out and in.
Limbs and bodies hold,
never letting go,
before deteriorating and being subsumed by another life form. Collective instances will locomote by
trying to get close to you again.
Trying so hard. Let me go back.
There's a video file attached. Opening it, you see that it presents the room you're in. The feed seems to be coming from one of the security cameras, up in the corner of the room. It's dark, but you can just make out Dr. Rigotta, laying on a pile of laundry along the far wall. She's writhing in her sleep. She seems tormented, hurt. She's tossing and turning and mumbling nonsense words. The camera shakes. It lifts upwards for a moment, before it focuses on her again. It starts moving closer, slowly. The speakers come to life, picking up an airy, breathy static. As the camera moves closer to the doctor, it becomes clearer, crisper. It's not merely white noise, but dozens, hundreds of voices whispering unintelligibly over each other. You lean in, press your ear almost against the speaker, trying to discern what it is that's being said. Something strange stands out amidst the discordance.
Are you paying attention? This next bit is just for you.
You're not quite sure what to make of it, though. Looking back at the monitor, the camera has come to a halt inches away from the sleeping doctor. The voices stop. There is no sound. A hand, black and oily and skeletal, reaches out for her, brushes away a lock of hair. Her eyes shoot open. She recoils in shock. The feed cuts out.
Access file. SCP-001 revision number 12 of 12. 1 attachment. Revision 12 of 12. Updated 1 days ago.
Item number SCP-001. Object Class Apollyon. Special Containment Procedures.
File recovered from previous revision. Information collapsed.
Description.
File recovered from previous revision. Information collapsed. Open attachment. Access granted.
Dr. Igota appears before you on the screen, looking even worse for wear than she did previously. Her hair is thinning, with large swaths appearing absent from the middle of her head. If they weren't reflecting the soft glow of the monitor, you would have assumed she no longer had eyes, for how deep they'd recessed into her skull. She stares ahead, unblinking.
She won't stop. She won't go away. I know I didn't. No, I didn't pick up an info hazard. Browsing the archives. Tested myself for SCP-8673 infection. Negative. SCP-9189 is the only other one that uses print as a vector. Can't be that. I still have all my fingers.
Her lips crack into a broken grin. She lets out a weak laugh and displays her trembling hands. What appears to be the mostly skeletal remains of a finger is embedded into the flesh of her left hand, in the stump that would have supported her natural ring finger. 2 wedding bands loosely encircle the digit, laying atop one another.
So I'm not infected. I'm not crazy. I know the ritual worked. I know it's really her. It's her, and she...
Something catches her attention off screen. She cocks her head, listening.
No, I can't. You're not you. Not the same. No, not you. It's not you anymore. No.
She begins rubbing her temples, repeating herself over and over again. A minute passes. She snaps her head back up and addresses the camera.
But it's not. What I brought back, still a part of 01. There's no way, no way out, no way. There's no hope for a future for me, and God, I can't go on like this any longer. I'll be safe here. The lights can't reach me. I won't let it take me.
She brandishes a handgun.
Was planning on using this till I found some leftover meds. Don't want to risk calling attention to myself, to my body.
She opens the desk drawer and deposits the firearm. She raises her gaze, stares into the camera.
Mom, Dad, Ari, I'm sorry.
She reaches forward and ends the recording. That's horrible. Did it have to end like that? You open the drawer and pull out the gun. You absent-mindedly turn it over in your hands for a moment, wondering where you'll go from here. Site 17? 64? Surely you can't be all that's left. The computer dings. There's been an update to the file?
Access SCP-001. Current iteration. Updated 1 minute ago.
Item number.
Saffron skies raise the blazing sun. A chance encounter, awkward displays. One day, my love, we'd be as one.
Object class.
With two entwined, a set course begun. That frenetic, wild, lustrous haze. Azure skies host the radiant sun.
Special containment procedures.
Above us, beaming as we run down that aisle, a fervent craze. That day, my love, we became as one. With future unfolded, the life we'd won. Commitment and duty for the family we'd raised. Cerulean skies ferry the shimmering sun.
Description.
Buried, shackled by fate, overrun. My ever-growing resent and malaise. Yesterday, my love, we were as one. Now you lie here, the life in you gone. In the dark outside of her reign. Crimson skies bear the torch, our sun today, my love, will be as one.
Without your prompting, the page begins playing a video file. You freeze when the image loads. It's a live feed, looking down on you from behind, about a foot away. A skeletal, inky left hand enters the frame, approaching you at a snail's pace. It's missing its ring finger. Without a second thought, you turn and fire in a frenzy, hoping to drive off the spectre. Your bullets meet an empty wall. There's nothing there. A second passes before you hear it, before you hear them. Sloshing, wet thuds coming down the corridor, accompanied by a chorus of screams. It slams into the door. Could there be a place to hide? It strikes a second time. What appears to be a face, part human, part something, dribbles in under the frame. Bits of flesh from God knows what oozes in through the sides and reconstitutes into fingers, eyes, feathers. A third. Now it's pressing up against the wood, causing it to sag inwards. With a groan and a crash, the wood splinters. The door explodes open. Hands and arms stretch out of the mass, pulling you up, passing you from one to the next, on and on down the line. They drag you past the empty containment units, upwards and through the stairwell, through the halls and towards the tunnel. You are afforded a few precious moments in the darkness. And at the end of the tunnel, there is light. Heart and soul. It is often speculated which of the varied forms of love is most powerful. One might posit that it is the familial storge, citing the pure love and hope in the heart of a mother, or the righteous pride with which a warrior defends their nation and kin. Another may proffer that it is instead the empathetic agape, owing to the compassion of a godly soul opening their heart to the needy, or the selflessness of an activist championing a cause far greater than themselves. Still, others may suggest that it is the committal pragma, on sole account of the continual process of growth and understanding that evolves over the course of a lifetime with one's partner, exuded by those when they deeply know another person so wholly and intimately. Regardless of each type's relative potency, it can be generally agreed upon that love is universally powerful. It is patient. It is dynamic. It is magical. It was with this universal sense of love that Sol basked Earth in her warmth. It was with this patience she tended to the planet, nurturing its life across aeons. From the industrious archaea she watched laying the bedrock for complex life forms to the sapient humans with their boundless innovation and creativity. Sol loved it all, no matter its form, with unrivaled intensity. Then there was the hateful. He was another of her kind. Older. His domain was blessed in having not just one, but 2 satellites primed to generate the bounty of life. Unlike Sol, however, the hateful was arrogant and impulsive. None of the life forms of his oceanic Rithlos developed eyes or vision to gaze upon him, so he lashed out, boiling the fledgling ecosystem for this perceived slight. The extremophiles of the frigid Tempest, though capable of complex feats of intelligence and adoption of learned behavior, never progressed to a sufficiently high degree of intellect or reasoning to genuinely appreciate their son's gift. As such, they too were consumed by his malice. The hateful envied Sol, despised her. He looked upon the world she painstakingly cultivated with absolute scorn. Furious and indignant that she should be graced with the complexity and variability of its inhabitants, he raged as its dominant species' venerations of her presence echoed throughout the cosmos, forever reverberating her praises to their brethren. The hateful then directed his anger towards Earth. He began moving with single-minded determination, emanating contempt and spewing vitriol. Sol became aware of the hateful's intentions as he began his bitter campaign, and grew concerned. Though she had known life to be resilient, shrugging off one extinction event after the other, the arrival of the hateful would be an insurmountable catastrophe. The beings she cared for would be obliterated en masse in a nuclear conflagration and die hopelessly screaming. Not even the brightest minds of her world's highest body of research, with knowledge both mystic and mundane, had a solution to the challenge imposed by the hateful. The more prevailing proposals incorporated occult rituals perfected across the millennia of humanity's existence. But for all their influence, they did not possess the power or resources to spark large-scale reactions necessary for planet-wide protection. Sol knew what had to be done. Brimming with unbridled love, she began to change. Her radiating warmth would act as a bulwark against the destruction threatened by her sibling. Her rays, an outpouring of her adoration of life, would grant those basking in its glory an immunity as unbreakable as the bonds she shared with them. As the hateful one ravaged and tore his way through the neighboring galaxies, Sol became bemused by his impotent rampage, reveling in the thought of his arrival. Because, once he descends upon Earth, he will discover its population can not only endure his onslaught, but prosper in spite of it. After all, love conquers hate. So, a grim look into a potential future of humanity where the sun seemingly turns itself away from bathing humanity in its warm light and glow and turning us into something else, only to be revealed later that that is the preferable alternative to what could befall us. Kinda glad I'm here in this janitor's closet, although the setting of this one seemed a little bit too familiar. I might sleep with the light on, to protect the purple crayon wife. This has been SD Locke's proposal. written by SD Locke, and Heart and Soul, written by SD Locke. Special thanks to Spirit Voices and 242 for providing the voices that you've heard on this broadcast alongside yours truly, TJ Lee. Thank you to We Try Horror for the visuals, and I hope to see you again with both the sun and the moon giving us some kindness rather than hate. And with that, I'm going to throw things over to the Patreon. I want to thank all of our patrons for making this possible. If you do want to sign up and support the channel, it is as little as $1 a month, and you get access to behind the scenes content, early accesses of streams and videos, and much, much more. That being said, I want to first thank our Purple Crayon Eaters, Mothman, Orphan Nuka, Okami-san, Ian Hancocks, Echo Kane, Gail Allstott, Alex, Mike, Candyman Gloving, Ashabel, Amara, Phi, Max, and Feeny Von Karma. I then want to thank our janitors, Alec Hansen, Ali, Shane Lewis, Dux, Joy Flint Healy, Sabine Eclipse, Death31, Scott, Heather Cayley, Adrian R, Amy, Sabrina, Arkham Cookie, and Alex Nunez. Our Nightmare Detectives, Melanie and Fox Clifford. Our Void Walkers, Josh Woods, Rat Squatch, and Professor Creepypasta. And of course, our Blackwell family members. Great Uncle Ven Blackwell and his forbidden knowledge, Izzy Blackwell, our resident bug devourer, TJ Blackwell, who seems hellbent on stealing the spot of our Janitor Supremo, yours truly, and my Purple Crayon stash, Deliria Blackwell, our new resident physician and provider of pestilence pills and poultry, Adela Blackwell's firebending and illusions, Ethan Blackwell, Abyssal Fisher and Repo Lord, Jackal Blackwell, head chef and mystery meat purveyor, Clue Blackwell, the chrysalis of unknowable horrors, Tabitha Blackwell, Voidwater Baron and forever frenemy to our last entrant, Papa Kaio Blackwell, from his Tower of Bones, Broth and Spines, preparing for the Outer Gods to finally recognize his claim. We thank all of you for your patronage. We thank all of you for being a part of the Dusklight family, and if you want to support, you can do so in our comments by subscribing, hitting the bell, all that good stuff, and of course join the Discord. This is not a traditional Blackwell outro, but it is important to me that I thank you guys at the end of every video. We upload 3 times a week, and we will be continuing to do so for as long as we see fit. Please go and support all the people that have been involved in our channel today. I have been your Janitor Supremo, and now apparently Data Leaguer for the SCP Foundation, TJ Lee, and I'll see you next week for another SCP reading.